It's the intergalactic soul, the honorable brother, the revolutionary yourself, Darius Lockhart, and I'm here to tell you to watch Powerbombshells every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern on the Fight Game Media YouTube channel. That's right, every Sunday at 1 p.m., and that's on time, every time, because when we stand together, what time is it? That's right, it's nation time.
Welcome to Powerbombshells 204. I'm Mel. That's Sam. We're just two broads talking about the wrestling we like. It makes me laugh every time Darius says we're on time because if the intergalactic soul says it, I don't care. It's right somewhere.
We're on time every time, whenever that is.
On our time.
Yeah, and nation time, because that's what time is it? What time
Always
it is?
Nation time.
Thank you. Yes, it is International Women's Day. It is Women's History Month, even though it seems the major wrestling companies forgot that it's Women's History Month and the way they booked women on Raw on Monday, and then kind of how they did it on Wednesday, which I have some thoughts about it, and we'll get into it at some point. But yeah, but other than that, going good. I have we're a little late because or we're obviously when we're supposed to be here, but Miley is hanging out in my room, but she doesn't typically like when I talk a lot when I podcast, and she usually most of the time she's not even in here, but the few times that she has been, she generally will not stay the whole time, and so Nikki and I were trying to coax her out, and it didn't work. So she's hanging out. We'll see for how long. You may see a door open. You may see the door behind me. You may see open briefly. Hopefully you may hear Miley bark, because sometimes when she gets down, if you don't get to the door fast enough, she will bark. So we'll see how long she stays. Melon was like, watch, she'll want to leave as soon as we start. And I was like, so far she's asleep, but we'll see.
So she'll come and go as she pleases.
Right. Yes.
And we will all bow down to her.
And poor little Sadie has hurt her front paw or front leg. She was chasing a squirrel, and I think it's just been really sore since then. But yesterday she started limping worse than she has been. And she's walking around with her little paw. Sometimes when she's outside, she kind of forgets, but in the house, but yesterday we noticed it was a lot worse. I think we're gonna have to take her to the vet tomorrow, because we've got a makeshift little like bandage on it to kind of help, and she hates it. But so it's like, so I guess maybe that might be another reason Miley's hanging out in here, is because Sadie's getting extra attention because of her leg. So maybe Miley just wants to be. And we were gone for a portion of the day yesterday, because yesterday was the second annual Sunny Strong event. And this year's event was even bigger than last year's. They had a really big turnout. It was in a different location. It's a show and shine, so it was a car show. They had vendors and things like that, but the big draw was a car show, and they had a lot more cars enter this year. They had a ton of trophies that they gave away. There's an award named an award named after Sunny this year. It's like Sunny's pick, and so they had lots of information out about DIPG. And for those of you who are newer here, Sunny was my cousin. She passed away at the age of 11. She had DIPG, which is basically it's a rare. It's rare, but we're finding, as we have been through this journey, we're finding more children who've been diagnosed with it. But she had a brain tumor on the base of her skull that was inoperable, and she battled DIPG for 17 months before she passed. This March 25th will make 2 years since she passed. And so the Sunny Strong event is to raise awareness, but also her parents started a foundation in her name, and they help families after the child has passed, because there is Santiago Strong is a foundation that helps children with DIPG and helps their families as they're going through it, which they were wonderful to my cousin and her family, and so the Sunny Strong Foundation kind of picks up after the fact. They've helped, they've been able to they've raised I can't remember what the year total was last year, but they've raised money and have paid for funerals. They've paid like bills that need to get paid for families that are struggling after losing a child, and just different things here and there that they need to pay for. And so yesterday was an event to continue to raise money for the foundation. And so it was a really great way to honor Sunny. Sunny loved, because her dad is really into cars, so Sunny loved sports cars and things like that. So she would have been all about it. The Humane Society was out there with dogs yesterday, and they did. We got there a little late because we were on the way there, and then we were worried we left something plugged in, and we were close enough to home that we turned around. But unfortunately, we missed the butterfly release, but they did that last year as well. Sunny loved butterflies. So they did a nice little butterfly release before we got there. And so it was a really fun event. I got to see some family, and there was just a ton of people in the community came out. So it was a really, really nice event. It was a great way to get the community involved and raise awareness and raise some money for a close cause that's very near and dear to me. So I'm wearing her other shirt today. This is Faith, Hope, Love, and Sunny, and on the back it has something about DIPG on it. But yeah, so but it, it was of course there were some sad times, but yeah, it was a really good, overall it was a really great event, and just keeping Sunny's name out there, which I think is the most important thing. And then of course raising awareness is huge too. So but yeah, so we were but my point in saying all of that was we were gone most of the day yesterday. So I think Miley also was just wanting to be around because we were gone for a good chunk of the day yesterday.
And that can be overwhelming no matter what. So her humans were feeling whatever they were feeling. And she was
right.
like, okay, you weren't around and you're feeling weird. And I'm a dog, so I only understand that you're feeling weird.
Yes.
But that's awesome. I'm glad to hear that that's continuing. And that's great because, I mean, legacy is everything in those circumstances. That's really all.
Yeah, they had, there was one of the last year they had a child that had a different type of brain cancer. He sadly passed away a few months after the event, but a family member of his, maybe his dad, was there yesterday, and he was in his name was Dakota, and so he was there in a Dakota Strong shirt and hat, and he donated because they had a car parade at the end of it, so all the cars went out, and so he donated enough to be the first car out, because they were donating, basically they were bidding, so they're basically auctioning off like the first 6 slots, I think, and so they were like, oh, I'll pay this much to be car number 6, and I'll pay this much to be car number 5. And so obviously number 1 is the most coveted and raised the most money, but it was really nice though to see that his family, was still there. And then there was another child that they honored yesterday who had another form of brain cancer, and he is only 6 years old. And he got to have this little, like, they had this really like fancy golf cart that's like up on big wheels, and they took him around in that, and he got to see all the cars. He got to vote for one of the awards. He got to pick who won, and so they did some stuff with him and his family yesterday. And I met one of his grandmothers yesterday, and she was a very sweet woman, and she just had a lot of really nice things to say about the event and things like that. So it was again, it's definitely some sadness there, but it was really nice to have the community show up, even for this little one who was going through his own struggles.
That's awesome. I'm really, really happy that is a thing, because I think being together really helps in those circumstances.
For sure.
Because it's easy to say, you're not alone, and we all say, we know we're not alone, but to really actually be there with people and feel that is a way bigger, more important reality than sort of knowing that it's like, when you just need to hear someone else say something out loud, as it were. That's
right. And that's obviously, that is not a community that people want to necessarily be. And there's that's not a community you want to be in. So it can feel, and I know it just being from extended family, let alone being, obviously a parent or a grandparent or a sibling. But that's, that can be probably, I know that's a really isolating feeling. And so to have a community of people who have been through it or are going through it and know because it's a very specific thing that you're going through in that situation, especially when it comes to childhood cancer and even childhood brain cancer is, and that's not to say that obviously, all things related, there's many hard things, but to have that community that knows very specifically what you're going through, I think was a huge help for Sunny's family. And so to be able to extend that to other families is really important as well. And so I'm really glad that they had, so they do usually a couple events. They do several events like throughout the year. This is this is one of their really big ones. And then they do a gala at the end of the year, which is the other really big one. And then they do some smaller ones, throughout the year, kind of to continue raising awareness. And we know, obviously, the further we get away from Sunny's passing, the harder it is for people to make it out to events, and they kind of move on with their lives, I guess. But that way you're kind of keeping that, keeping Sunny's memory alive and reminding people that, hey, just because Sunny's not here, unfortunately, there's there's other families like ours that are dealing with this stuff, and we want to help them. And so I think, having these events definitely it helps on many levels, for sure. Yeah. One of the positive things that came out of yesterday is there was one of the vendors had pins that you put on, because you could decorate your own hat, and we didn't do the hats, but we ended up buying pins because a lot of them were nostalgic childhood related things. And so Nikki and I spent a good probably 15 minutes trying to pick something out, and then she was like, "Oh yeah, I have these too," and it was a tiny little binder with even more. And we were like, and one of them ended up being Nikki. Actually, we both ended up picking one from that, and we were going to do one a piece, and then she had a deal where it was like 3 for $12, and so then we still had to narrow it down. And I meant to actually, I have them; they're just in a bag. I meant to bring them out for show and tell. Unfortunately, they're not any wrestling related ones, but
that's okay.
We did have some good. Let's see if I can. Nikki's might. I don't know if Nikki wants me to show hers.
Well,
and you didn't ask for show and tell, but you're getting it.
Show and tell, girl. I want to see it.
We did get. We had these last year, and they had them again. They're gourmet peanuts that are dill pickle flavored. And we had them last year, and they're so good. And the place is local to us. They're I don't think they're very far from us at all. And so we were reminded of that yesterday, and I was like, no,
we all know how much Sam likes her pickles.
Yes, we do. So yes, and that includes dill pickle flavored peanuts.
That's amazing.
And then these are, this is I don't know how well you can see that. It's a tattoo, but I'll probably just keep it. But
Cute.
It's the Cure Starts Now logo, which is the Cure Starts Now. Every $100 funds an hour of research, and they research pediatric brain cancer. And 10% of everything that Sunny Strong makes gets donated to them, because Sunny was an ambassador for them. And so they're definitely another organization that we're really fond of. And so let's see here, just pulling things out at random here. Okay, so Nikki and I each got one of these. They're different colors, but they're the same thing. Nikki got, and usually I'm a purple person. Well, I think we actually went back and forth, and we're going to decide who gets what. So this one says Polly Pocket.
Ha!
And this one looks like a Polly Pocket. And there was a third one, and she was like, the woman that was selling it, she was like, I've been looking for that one, because she had a little tiny Polly Pocket necklace that her husband got her for Christmas, and it looks like a little Polly Pocket, and you open it, and it has a little tiny Polly Pocket inside of it. And she was saying that she has a bracelet too, but she didn't wear it because she didn't want it to catch on everything. And she was like, I was looking for that she was like, I was looking for that pin, and so she ended up wearing it because she was looking for it. And then I got this one too. It's Alf, and it says Cat Lovers Association.
That's hilarious.
They had another one that was fully of Alf, but I loved Alf.
That's funnier. I mean, I don't know what the
I
other
love
one
that
said,
one.
but that's funny
Yes.
yeah. If you,
And then
if
I
you are
got-
an Elf fan, that's hilarious.
Yes, that's what I thought. Nikki was like,
I
"Yeah,
was
you
a
can get that one."
huge Elf fan. I watched it in syndication. I watched it all the time. Like
Yes. Yeah, I love Alf.
back when
and
puppets
so-
were like the big thing on TV. It was so great when they did that Muppet show that they brought back recently. It was actually well and truly felt like a Muppet show. It was so cool because I used to watch with my dad. So I mean, that was like a really like I was very sensitive about it.
Yes.
Alf was.
I loved that show.
I don't know.
And
It was so funny in like the
They did a
90s and
TV
stuff.
movie too that I remember watching.
Which one?
They did a TV movie for Alf like a few years. Well, it's been more than a few years ago. It was a few years after the show ended, but
I believe it.
They did one. Yeah.
Love that Alf.
Yeah, Nikki said she kept randomly remembering that pin while we were covering Collision, and it would make her laugh. There was one I didn't end up getting it, but it made me laugh every time I saw it. It was it said it was a pin, and it said "Home We Don't Play That," and it was him dressed as that character. And every time I saw it, it made me laugh.
Wow, that's a crazy Mashable right there.
Yes, and then. This one is it says Fresh. It's from the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Oh, yeah.
This one, which I love the show, but it reminded me of Sunny because Sunny's last birthday party was a Fresh Princess of Bel-Air themed party, and she had a 90s theme party. And they had a big and it was so cute. And so when I saw it, it reminded me, and I was like, not that I wouldn't have remembered these pins, but I was like, this one will specifically remind me of Sunny. So I wanted to get that one. And then so Nikki got one of the Polly Pocket pins, and then she also got, this is the one I saw when the woman was like, oh, I have more. And this was the first pin that I saw. And it's from a Goofy movie.
Oh, it's from Goofy movie.
Yes. And I was like, look how cute.
Aww.
And so Nikki was like, I need it.
That's
and then the last one is a Bluey pin because Nikki used to watch Bluey with I'm sorry, Blue's Clues, not Bluey.
Blue's Clues.
She used to watch Blue's Clues. Nikki used to watch it with Sunny. And Sunny told her that she remembered watching it with her. So we each got a pin that would remind us of Sunny.
I love that.
So it was really cool. And that was it took a long time just to pick out these because they had like a bunch of Care Bears, which we loved growing up. And there was like some childhood shows that Nikki watched. They had characters of, there was like, there was Pac-Man. There was like multiple Pac-Man pins. Like it took us a really long time.
I understand.
I don't know what we're gonna do with them because we're not people who really collect pins or wear them. And I was like, we do have a denim jacket that I was like, I guess maybe that one we could put some pins on, but we haven't figured out how we're gonna display them yet. But I was like, we had to get them because I was
we have a couple of bulletin boards in our house.
Yeah,
that
we've thought about
largely where our pins end up. Or back here on my map, you can't really see it unless sometimes you can see them. But I have a Garfichu pin that Kyle designed.
Right.
And he's on this surfboard. And I move him around to all the different oceans, like just to amuse myself.
That's great.
He's surfing and I put him on it. So I mean,
I love it.
The whole world, because for a long time I was like, we need a map in here. I want a map. I want to be able to like see, and I'd love a globe, but I want a map, and I've been wanting them all back. So finally we got one. And then it was just funny because when he did those diecast pins of Garfichu just surfing, I'm like, as a matter of fact, wait, I have a sticker version of it though that people can see. Here he is.
Oh, cute.
And so there's a pin version of him, and I just move him around to the various oceans.
That's great.
He was defending Venezuela for a while.
Well, thank goodness somebody was.
I know, right? Well, he's a kaiju anyway, because he's a Pikachu.
Right.
He's a half Pikachu, which makes him a kaiju, which makes him a giant monster. So he actually would stand a chance in that circumstance. Bob pointed that out to me. He's like, well, he is a kaiju. That makes sense. And I was like, oh my God, he is. Because Pikachu's a giant monster.
Right.
And Garfield isn't, and Garfichu is, oh my gosh.
Yes, that
So,
makes
yeah.
perfect sense.
It made total sense. It made more sense than I even realized at the time.
It does. It makes a ton of sense. And yeah, so we've talked about probably maybe getting like a bulletin board to like pin our stuff to. And then Nikki was saying that her and Sunny's mom used to watch Goofy movie all the time because her mom had
Sister
it.
used to make me watch that movie over and over. But I'm not gonna lie, the songs and the movie itself really good.
I love it.
And then I found out my cousin likes it, who I used to podcast with, and I was like, all right. And then my good friend around here, she asked me recently at karaoke, she's like, do you know that movie? I was like, yeah. And he's like, do you remember the song? She was like, I'm thinking, and I'm like, sing it. Do it.
Yes.
Oh, I meant to tell you guys, this has been a couple of weeks. Speaking of karaoke night, it's wrestling related. Holy crap. So I was sitting there, I was trying to figure out, because it's like, I'm one of the people and I love it and I don't care. So I was trying to figure out what to sing. And one of my friends was like, well, pick a wrestling theme that you like and sing it. And I was like, I don't think anyone is going to want to hear Kazani Nare or something. And I don't know if I could sing the whole song.
Yeah.
But we were like, what is a good wrestling theme? And Bob and I were like, duh. So I sang Judas at karaoke.
You subjected those poor fans.
No, everyone liked it. And that's
probably because they weren't forced to hear it 9 million
times. No, it was great. Bob was there. He helped me sing along. A bunch of people realized, they're like, oh yeah, I've heard this song, which is hilarious because Fozzy is a real band on.
Right.
So it was hilarious. And I mean, our the guy who does our karaoke, he likes some of that old like 90s metal style.
Yeah.
Like he's a Nickelback fan. We don't hold it against him, but we do. We actually do. We give out to him a lot.
Listen, in their defense, they do have some actually really good songs that still stand up.
He sings a bunch of their songs that are very good, and he's good at it. It's just so funny to like give out to each other about it. Like when we were in Toronto, in Toronto for Forbidden Door too. Nickelback was getting inducted into the Canadian Hall of Fame.
Oh wow.
And we had to like take pictures of that and bring it back to him to show him, because we were like, we knew that you would appreciate this.
Yeah.
They are now Canadian Hall of Fame.
Yes.
Inductees, Nickelback. So it was too funny.
Crush says a local bar near them, the DJ used to finish every night at 3 a.m. with the Fraggle Rock theme song.
Okay, that's pretty funny.
Rock/metal bar. That is fantastic.
That's awesome. I do Rainbow I do Rainbow Connection, the Kermit version. That's
a good. Yes. Even
and
better.
That's actually that's a very popular song with my group. Everyone loves, which is great for me because it was my dad. It was a song that my dad got me. I mean, the Muppets was a thing I did with my dad.
Yeah.
And that was actually the song that Bob and I danced to together at our wedding. So, it was not our wedding, but it was what my grandpa and I danced. That was my dad's song because my grandpa gave me away at my wedding. And so it's really cool that I get to share that with my friends. They're fun so downtown.
Cool. I love that.
It's a lot of fun. It's a sweet thing.
Cool. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, our karaoke, we laugh about it because it's such a local thing. It's like we have the most non-judgmental karaoke ever. We all love each other. Every once in a while, it's something random like that where someone just says, they throw an idea out.
Yeah.
And it's like, I know that one. I haven't sung it like ever. And it's like, who cares? Just go. Yeah. And we just have a blast with it. It's so much fun.
Yeah, and Nikki said that she loves Fraggle Rock, and I did too. And Wembley is the best.
Anything Jim Henson, I'm like pretty much on board for. So
yeah, Nikki said that she's been a sucker for nostalgia. We both are, but lately she said she's been listening to the opening and closing for Eureka's Castle.
Like closer to my sister's age. I used to watch a lot of that stuff because she would make me watch it.
Yeah, I was
older enough that I wasn't necessarily interested.
Same.
But I had to share the TV with the kid, and so there we are.
You know, and I know Mel did. I have never seen it. I think because I don't know if it's just I didn't have access to it or if it's just something like my parents wouldn't. Not that it was anything bad, but I don't know that they would have like just never showed it to me. And so I know that it was. I don't know if it still is. I know they were doing like what was they like brought it back to Netflix, right?
There was a series.
It was a series, okay. And I was trying to figure out like how to watch the original, I think, and then
it's got to be on Disney. I would imagine.
I kind of forgot about it. I would think so too. And the Labyrinth is also one that I need to see, especially because I was like, these things would be maybe more so. I mean, not that I would have been into them as a kid, but I think maybe more so as an adult, considering the things that I'm into now. These things would probably hit me more now as an adult than they probably would.
I think that they definitely would, as someone who did watch them as a kid and watched them over and over and then got to watch them with kids.
Yeah.
Like as they've grown through. Because Labyrinth and Dark Crystal are like almost for like a whole group of kids, are like, those are some of the first ones that you necessarily like in groups of people. It's like, gotta have this, gotta watch Mary Poppins, gotta watch Labyrinth, gotta watch the Dark Crystal.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
it just depends though, because there are some scary things in both of those.
right.
Like the bad guys, the Skeksis in Dark Crystal are definitely scary. And when I was a kid, I was like scared of those guys. I was like,
right.
they are scary.
Right.
But I think we were more resilient kids. Our parents were.
Yeah. And I was thinking about I didn't hear of the Dark Crystal until like it was fairly more recently before I had even heard of it. But then again, you also have to remember like things, obviously with you and I and our generation, like things would come on TV like once and then it would not come on again for like 7 years, like you. And so there was things that it probably was on and I didn't even know about it. And so like I said, like I didn't know about Dark Crystal until way late, like within the last few years was the first time I'd ever heard of it. And I was like, why? Like this would have been right up my alley. Especially now. And like Labyrinth, I heard of like well before Dark Crystal, but even as a kid, like it wasn't something like that my friends watched or that like kids I went to school with. I never heard them talking about things like that. So like, I think it was just, maybe it was not a regional thing, but like, I'm sure there were kids in my school who watched it, like, but it was nothing like, I don't ever remember them talking about it. So it's not like I would have been like, oh, what's that? And like tried to figure out how to watch it or something like that. And so I think some of it is just like access to stuff too.
I think it's family specific and you don't have the internet as a factor. So if
Sure.
your family watched certain things growing up, then that's what they were going to show you as you were growing up. So it was like, not every kid was exposed to the number of musicals that I was exposed to
right.
as a child.
Well, and see, like
my grandfather and a lot of my but specifically my dad's stepdad, he like showed us all the musicals.
Right.
I mean,
yeah, so we were not into like the only musical like we ever watched was Grease. And it's still like I'm not a musical, like musicals are not really my thing, but like I love Grease and I love Rocky Horror Picture Show, and then that's about it.
So you're doing all right though. Rocky Horror is tough.
And I didn't watch Rocky Horror until I was older. I don't even think I may have been in my 20s when I saw Rocky Horror for the first time. But then I found out that my dad went to see Rocky Horror in the theater when he was like 17, and he always tells the story about like he was there. And he was sitting around these bikers who were there to watch it, and they were like offering him beer. And he was like, I think he said he took like a swig or two or something like that. But he was like, but yeah, so it was just really, and like of all people, like my dad is not someone that I thought would like be into.
Yeah, it was an event. They would like throw toast at the screen. There's all kinds of points in the movie.
Yeah.
That in the theater, if you go for the theater experience, there are specific things that correlate to times in the movie.
Right.
That you do
specific
things in the theater.
We've gone back and seen like, so we watched it like
funny.
On TV and had the DVDs, but then there's a group that now they do it like I think they're like the first Friday of every month. They are at this theater and that's what they do. And we haven't been to them in a while, but we went several years ago with some friends, and we bought a prop bag for like $3, and it had like newspaper for you to put on your head when it was raining, and like it had a couple little props in there. And so that was like the first, and like everybody in our group except for one person had all seen Rocky Horror, and then we did have a Rocky Horror virgin with us, and so we made her go down there with a group of virgins, and they took lipstick and wrote a red V on her cheek and stuff. And so like it was a ton of fun. And like I really want to go do it again. But of course, like Fridays are when I'm covering SmackDown. So I can't usually, or I forget about it until they send like a Facebook alert will pop up and I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot that was tonight. So but it was a ton of fun going to that type of stuff. And so yeah, it's a really cool thing for sure.
I love that stuff. That's a great one. That's one of Bob's favorites. We just like our local theater has this thing where they like re-show old movies. So we've gone and seen The Dark Crystal. We've seen on the big screen. We've seen Howl's Moving Castle. We actually saw The Wizard of Oz because I was like, I have never seen that on the big screen. Like I've seen it a jillion times. But it's really great because they just bring in stuff like that, and it's all these different genres of movies. And
that's really cool that they do that.
Yeah, it's
that's
a lot
great
of fun.
way to get some. Because I've seen Neverending Story as a kid, and I'm trying to remember. I feel like I did see it the first time in the theater, I think, but I can't remember for certain, but I know
that was definitely one that came on TV over and over and over for me.
And I'm thinking, I was like, this is definitely something that I remember.
And I'm not like the world's biggest. Neverending Story is a weird one for me, but but John, made me if my Facebook cover is Ned Stark riding Falcor. So
fantastic.
And I've never been able to change that because how do you get any better than Ned Stark riding Falcor?
Yes.
Yes. I mean, come on.
Yes, I do love Roger Rabbit. Nikki said,
great movie.
Nikki said this is Nostalgia Corner and it's been brought to you by Dill Pickle Peanuts.
True story. That's okay.
Listen, you guys, if you were here last week, you said that you liked ox topic conversations.
Yeah, there you go. So now you've done this yourself.
The first half hour of this, other than the very beginning when I said that I had some thoughts about wrestling and Women's History Month. And thank you, LaRon. I meant to say something, but we were talking about Sunny. But thank you to LaRon, who also wished us a happy International Women's Day. So thank you for that. We appreciate that, and I definitely have some thoughts about how how wrestling has. Well, I would say major companies. The indies have been killing it this weekend with all women's shows happening. And Athena had an all women's show last night. CMLL had an all women's show Friday night. Wrestle Queendom has an all women's show that I think is happening now or will be happening during this show. I think there was one other promotion maybe that I'm thinking of that had an all women's show. So shout out to you for
it was Pro Wrestling Eve had 2 shows this weekend.
Yeah, that's right. They had one on Friday and had one today. But I was thinking there was one more promotion that I saw had an all women's show this weekend. And so shout out to you guys for actually putting the effort. And I think this is for MPX, which is Athena's promotion. This is I believe the 3rd all women's show that they've had.
Nice.
I believe. And so I'm hoping that with MPX working with ROH, maybe that's how we get an all-women's show. But before AEW tries to get an all-women's show, let's have women main event a pay-per-view. Let's do that first. Because I don't want the first women's main event to come on an all-women's show. I want women to main event a normal wrestling pay-per-view first. Then we can talk about having an all-women's show. Let's see. I guess, since we're already, let's back that up. I was going to say, since we're already talking about it, but this one is not, actually, I'm going to back it up one more time. There's a bunch of wrestling news this week. And I hate that we just have this nostalgic thing, and I'm going to bring it down briefly. But I do want to make sure I mention this. So last night when I was covering Collision, Nikki and I found out a 3rd death has hit the Carolina indie scene. Unfortunately, Shay McGrady, who was he was a member of a tag team called High Profile, used to wrestle in PWX. They wrestled elsewhere in the region, but PWX is where we knew them. Probably like mid 2000s. Like I want to say like not mid, but like late, like maybe 2017, 2018, maybe somewhere around in there. I want to say is when they were wrestling, and they were big fans of Waffle House, and that was like part of their gear was the they had stuff with waffles on them. But I'm not sure. Nobody has said what happened. We just know that word kind of spread. I saw Matthew, who listens to the show, he sent a Facebook post from Rob Killjoy, who's in the Ugly Ducklings, that he had sent around that Shay Shay had passed away. JD Dreek posted about him last night, and then Caleb Conley also posted about him. I didn't really know him. It was somebody I saw in passing, but he was always very kind, and I'm seeing a lot of the people who did know him were talking about how he was one of the sweetest people you would ever meet in the wrestling industry, and talked about, how kind he was and how his shoes will not be filled. And so it was just a rough thing. It's been less than a month, and the scene has now been hit by its third death. And I am definitely a firm believer in things coming in threes, so I'm hoping that's the last one, at least for a while, because this scene, and even Caleb tweeted, he was like, I posted on Facebook, he's like, I'm tired of my friends dying. Yeah. And I can't imagine like how, I mean, it's hard for the scene in general, but I can't imagine how it is for the talent to have lost yet another person this close together. And it's definitely a really rough thing, but I just wanted to make sure that I spoke about Shay Shay, because he was like I said, from what I know of him, he was a kind person, high profile. They were pretty green when we saw them, but they were a lot of fun, and you could tell they were super passionate about what they were doing, and they loved getting the fans involved. They were very, very positive, happy people, and they were always it was always a treat to see them. So I was definitely sending my thoughts and condolences out to Shay Shay's family and his friends and everybody in the scene that's been hit once again. It just seems like it just won't stop coming. So I'm hopefully this is it for a while, but yes, definitely just thinking of everybody this morning who was affected. Yeah, and that was right. Yeah, Nikki said Shay Shay was he broke his ankle one of the times that we saw him. He broke an ankle during the match, and it was definitely a rough thing to witness, but he was definitely surrounded by the locker room. And I don't believe, from what I was taught when I was talking to Matthew and our friends last night, I don't believe he was actively competing and had not been actively competing in a while, it sounded like. But even without that, just seeing some of the posts I've seen last night and a couple this morning, it sounds like he definitely, in that time that he was an active wrestler, he definitely seemed to make an impact on the locker room that he shared with people, for sure. So definitely thinking about those to everyone this morning who was affected by that, and definitely thinking about the indie scene here, and hopefully we get a break from all that. I hate transitioning into like the next thing after talking about not fun stuff, but we do have something else we do have a little bit of an update on Janelle. There was a press release that was sent out late Thursday afternoon. One of her lawyers, Erica Nolan, is one of her attorneys. She testified before the Connecticut legislature on NDA reform. And Janelle was there with her. And they told a little bit about Janelle's story and what she has experienced due to having an NDA. And there was a couple of quotes that were in the press release, and there was also a video that was released of some of the stuff that they talked about. I think it was about 17 minutes or so. And so some of the quotes came from that. And so Erica Nolan said that for someone bound by an NDA, intimidation does not have to be loud or obvious. It can be as simple as a letter from a lawyer reminding a victim of what they signed. In Miss Grant's case, however, the intimidation has been both loud and obvious. She's faced public retaliation, exposure of her personal information, witness intimidation, and even public mockery on national television for what she experienced. She says that Janelle is an incredibly kind, empathetic, and brave woman who has endured tremendous trauma at the hands of her abusers and their enablers. Says she's been effectively made an example of what can happen to employees who speak out about misconduct, particularly when the employer is one of the largest in Connecticut. And then Janelle is talking about, of course, she's talked about how much she cares about the people who are there, who still are employed there, and she's very concerned about what has happened to them. And then she also mentions that she, I guess, from her after she spoke publicly a couple of weeks ago, she mentioned that she had noticed some things that were happening online that made her feel like, she didn't really specify exactly what it was, but she called the police to file a report in this past week due to an online intimidation tactic, and she said she felt that her safety was being threatened, and she said the police contacted WWE, but then WWE did not respond to the police contacting them about what was happening. So according to Janelle, they're still not, she's still receiving intimidation, which is unsurprising. And she's tried to do something about it, and WWE is ignoring it, it sounds like, or at least at the time that this came out, they were ignoring her and ignoring, into people that were intimidating her. So unfortunately, this is something that, we have been seeing, and like just thinking about the things that I've seen online, I can only imagine the things that she has seen. And if she felt intimidated enough by something she saw, like I said, it doesn't go into specifics about what exactly triggered it, just that there were intimidation tactics and she had to call the police about it. And then WWE has just blown it off, it sounds like. Of course. So, but yeah, so I wanted to, since we did have that update, and again, I think on or around April 1st is when we could have some more information about her case, because Vince McMahon is still seeking arbitration in that civil lawsuit. And then also, while we're on the topic, there was also a little bit of information that came out in her lawsuit against Dr. Carlin Colker. They've been trying for months to get her medical bills, receipts, anything pertaining to her care.
All of her medical everything. Yeah. They've been trying to compel him to submit that forever.
Right. And so according to her team, they've received like 2 things, and that's it. He tried to, I guess he filed an appeal in January, and the Connecticut Appellate Court dismissed it. They dismissed his petition. So he lost that. And so it sounds like, because he lost that appeal, it sounds like he's going to have to turn over what he has been ordered to turn over, but he's been fighting it this entire time. And so there was that little bit of an update in the case. Who knows if he'll actually, if he and his team will go through with it. But yeah, they definitely lost that appeal, which is obviously a great thing for Janelle. Hopefully he and his team will start turning over the information that they have been ordered to have, because those medical records belong to her. So they are hers.
There are a lot of laws that protect your personal health information, let me tell you.
Yeah.
I've had to read all about them, a lot.
Yeah.
And I have to sign off on the fact that I know about how to handle it a lot. So he needs to fork those over.
Yeah.
She was long overdue to being entitled to those.
Right. Absolutely. And he's trying to, part of it was like
I think it's a combination.
They were trying to argue that like she was just wanting it for her case against Vince McMahon, but I mean,
what difference does it make? That's not.
Yeah, and I was like, no, I think we are kind of, we know why you don't want to turn this over.
Well, I think
I think it seems quite obviously to, and quite obvious to the judges too.
I think there's two issues here. I think one issue is that there probably aren't records. And if there are, they are doctored. So,
yeah, there's certainly that possibility for sure.
Because there's always phantom books when it comes to these kinds of people.
Right.
Because they have to account for their behavior regardless. Although Vince has proven to be not so great at that. So,
right. Yes.
We never know.
Crash said on a side note, he's been playing Cyberpunk 2077 lately, and his MC keeps finding NDA items lying around around the in-world sandbox as, get this, in-game junked items word. He said art is imitating reality. We've talked about it. Wrestling reflects real life. All the time.
I mean, NDAs are a problem for, it's not just, I mean, Janelle's case is so extreme that it should be taken into account, obviously. NDAs have gotten out of control. They're being used as a manipulation tactic by powerful people. End of story. They've lost what their spirit of their intent was with the way they're being used.
Right. And then that's kind of what they are, and that's what it talks about about the stuff with the NDA, that they're saying that, then even they are like, we're not saying that NDAs have to go away. We're just saying that NDAs,
no, but their intent was never to be used the way they are.
Illegal behavior.
Correct.
That's when it's a problem. They're like, yes, there are obviously real world reasons for having NDAs, but that's what Eric and Nolan and they were talking about, like, but when they're used for this purpose, like, here's a very specific reason or example rather of what we mean.
This is trying to use the legal system to manipulate a person.
Right.
That's it. That's all that is.
Right.
And that's just not okay. I mean, or it shouldn't be. I mean, sadly, we're living in a time where that kind of thing is. But I'm glad that the Connecticut legislature has got that out there for people to talk about. The more we talk about it, because change is so incremental, the more it becomes an issue, the more the issue has its chance of actually moving in the direction of not having so many victims of this system.
Right, exactly.
But I mean, it starts with, like, it has to start with one state and one group of people and kind of moves out from there.
Right.
And
like, I know, and like, as Erica said in one of her statements, was like, they're one of the biggest employers in the state of Connecticut.
That's a great point that she made.
Yeah. Because
when you think about how small, because I'm from that part, and my dad lived in Connecticut for a minute. So it's big. But out of the other, like, northeastern states, it's not. It's a bigger state, but it's not as populated. Like, Hartford's populated, and some of the other areas are populated. There's a seaport there. There's, you know, but it's spread out, and there's a lot of area where there's just nothing but, like, it's industrial or headquarters, or you'll see a lot, if you, especially your part of the world, a lot of headquarters are in Connecticut. They're just a lot of big, like, office buildings, you know, and it's kind of like that part of America is, like, Connecticut is where the big headquarters, it's like the headquarters capital of the Northeast.
Right.
But that is an even bigger issue because they're one of the biggest ones in Connecticut, which is fairly small populated, but there's a whole bunch of other big corporations that are headquartered there.
Right.
Who also, I'm sure, are not using their NDAs in good faith.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean,
which is why the whole reason that, like, you know, they're speaking.
And once it starts, I mean, they don't want that kind of stuff passed because once one state starts talking about it, other legislatures look over and the smart states and go, well, we need that too, because a state like Michigan is going to go, well, we've got the auto industry, we've got new things being innovated all the time, we've got electric vehicles.
Right.
We definitely don't need people in power in this
Charlotte
area.
Like, Charlotte is a huge banking city.
There you go. Exactly.
So they're gonna.
Chicago probably wouldn't hurt by it. They'd be. I mean, Illinois would probably be hyped for it. It has to start somewhere, and I think that. And honestly, I mean, it takes an enormous amount of strength after what she's been through for Janelle to continue to even put herself out there to help make it better. Again, like I said before, this is not probably going to help her. It may, because it may take long enough.
Right.
But this is much more about she's doing this to make sure that other people that come after her don't have to go through this ridiculousness she's gone through.
Right.
That's pretty awesome. I mean,
yeah, for sure.
Because with as much trauma as she's been through, there's no obligation for her to
right. And
to
she
do
still
that.
and she still says that she's being intimidated just
Yeah,
for talking about that. So that clearly, and I'm sure there's going to be some if there was retaliation for what happened a couple weeks ago, other than putting Brock Lesnar on TV, which was obviously.
Well, honestly, at this point, they will do whatever they can do to keep.
But she's she's appearing publicly again for the second time in a couple of weeks, alongside, obviously it was alongside one of her some of her legal team, but still, like, she's still appearing publicly, which is not something she's been doing before. And we talked about it a couple of weeks ago. Like, last year she said she was out of that. She was only outside 10 times. She's already been speaking publicly twice in the last few weeks. And I can't imagine how hard it was just to do that, just to even show up, even if she said nothing and sat there and just to sit there publicly. I can't imagine what that's been like for her. And then to immediately receive obviously online backlash. We've seen it. People ramping up, bots ramping up, and then to the point where she felt like she had to get the police involved. So I'm sure I won't be surprised if that happens again with this latest appearance that she had.
Unfortunately, where we are in this stupid timeline with the technology that's available to ding-dongs, she has... What I don't like, and I don't like hearing, and this is unfortunately something that I think women deal with in a very large scale, is the non-response from the local authorities to following up on threats to her safety, to the point where she could only go outside 10 times in 1 year in 365 days while she's dealing with one of the most traumatic things that anybody can deal with. Right. You need air. You need to take a walk. You need to get the F out of your house.
Right.
Like, I have chronic illness and I need to get the F out of my house. And that, that really hurt when I heard her say that. I had a lot of empathy for the value of being able to breathe fresh air when you are dealing with traumatic situations in your life. And I'm like, I want to get a group of people together and just be like, we are taking Janelle out so that no one will come near her. I will bring my sword. I will bring my Viking gimmick. I don't care. I think it's so unfair. And then to hear that there's not like she's still feeling that way and there's not response. I mean, obviously it's sadly to be expected.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
However, I am just getting fed up with this kind of reaction from culture. Like, this woman, just shut up. You wouldn't say that to a person's face. You wouldn't do that in public for the large part. As much as people, it's just, I personally am done just letting people behave any old way they feel like and get off the hook for it. And I'm not saying, unlike the internet, engaging on the internet is an exercise in futility.
Sure. Sure.
I mean, you'll drive yourself crazy trying that.
Yeah.
But it's just, there's no getting away from it either. It's like, as far as you want to be, that you can, and you can live in a hole. And I know people that do, but they're not doing themselves any favors, even though all of what we're dealing with is scary.
Yeah.
And this and she's dealing with this at a really uniquely, what the F timeline circumstance in the first place. We have CEOs of companies that don't read.
Somebody in that company did read it, because we wrote a whole
cats and dogs living together. I don't know.
We had a whole storyline about it. Somebody read it. But yeah. Oh, so I Make Beats popped up.
Hi, how are you?
Miss y'all. Sorry I haven't been around as much. Hope everyone is well. Pop back soon as I can. Much love. Thank you for being here, and I'm
happy you came by
as often as you're able to. We definitely miss having you around. So good to see you.
We appreciate anybody and anytime, as all of you that are here, anytime you have to spend with us, we always appreciate you guys.
Definitely.
It's very, very cool.
We do, for sure. Crash says that you have an awesome hat, by the way.
Thank you.
I was looking at the green ribbon while she was talking. I was like, look how festive it looks.
Well, it's what, March 8th?
Yeah.
So it's getting on. It's the month of patties. So I kind of had my first Irish stout last week at the pub because he makes his own, and I was like, oh. There was one year, because usually I'll have a Guinness or I'll cook with it this time of year because I like to make Guinness beef stew this time of year because it's on sale.
Yeah.
And but there was one year not too long ago where all I did was drink the local. I was like, whoa, I just realized that I didn't have a single Guinness this entire season.
Nice.
Yours.
Oh, yeah.
It's very nice Irish. It's called Countdown. It's a nice Irish nitro stout. It's very good.
Crush, that's very no Irish.
Yeah, no Irish. Yeah, I don't wear all the like Kiss Me I'm Irish stuff and stuff very often. I do enjoy the meal. So I like making corned beef and cabbage, even though I know that's not
it's no Irish.
No Irish. No Irish.
He said that no
I was
Irish.
like, wait a minute. You're telling me, wait a minute. I would think that you would say yes, Irish. I'm pretty sure. Anyway, yeah. We have a lot of fun here in America with it, but I don't get that crazy. I like the music. I get very excited about the music because
music is fun.
The St. Patrick's Day music is very much the Ren Fair music because that's all the same kind of music background. So it's like I get right at the beginning of spring, I get a whole big influx of festival music, and I'm like, yeah. And it gets to be spring in like the next few months is like the first few fairs and like oh yeah, that reminds me. We're doing year 3 of our local the CCW
good
Richmond Ruckus 3.
Yay.
It's coming back. It's coming in May 2nd, I think it is. Don't quote me on that, but
very cool.
And and we're going to be sponsoring that. So I have to go watch wrestling for my job again. It's that time of year, Sam.
I wish they'd stop doing that to you. They're so awful.
I know, it's awful. It's the worst. So yeah, I'm very excited. Very hyped. I think that, it's so hard, but $10, $50, and $20 still an indie wrestling show is like, for your money, the best thing in town. It's like the best. It's so much fun to go.
Yeah, we Ashe hasn't had a show since December, and we're finally getting one. They're finally having a show on March 22nd.
Love it.
And it's going to be at a new
that's right. That's our day that we're going early.
Yeah. And so they have they're going to be in a new venue that they've never been in before. So that's exciting. They've announced several matches. Like Cedric Alexander is challenging for the men's heavyweight championship, which I'm very excited about. Charity King is defending her title against Janai Kai, which I cannot wait for. I love Janai Kai. And of course, Cherry, I love her. And then Darius is wrestling Alex Kane, which will be crazy. And so I'm sure there's going to... Oh, and then they just announced the tag team match, too. TME is defending their titles against Top Shooters, which I've seen once, but from what I've seen of them, I really enjoyed them. So I'm excited about that. I'm sure we'll get some more match announcements soon, but I'm really excited for Ashe coming up in a couple of weeks. So yeah, that will be the Revolution Fallout show. And so Mel and I both have IRL things that day. So we are planning to go an hour early, and we'll remind you again next week as well. We're on Sunday, the 22nd, we're planning to be here at 12 p.m. Eastern time. Because we were like, we can't not have a Fallout show for Revolution because I can only imagine what's going to happen at the show and then the episodes following that. And I was like, as someone mentioned last week, if our shows only went 90 minutes, they would be worried that something was wrong.
Yeah, seriously.
So we figured the best way to handle it was to go an hour early, have a specific out time, so that we could both do our IRL things that day. So hopefully you'll come join us, or if not, if the replay is there. But I'm sure I can only imagine what's going to happen at Revolution and the things that we're going to need to talk about.
My goodness,
So,
it's been so long since we had a pay-per-view. There's been so much stuff.
I
going out.
know.
It is going to be a stacked pay-per-view.
It is. That card, they added another match to it last night. Actually, they added two, because they added the 21, what is it? The Blackjack.
The 21 man
Blackjack Battle Royale to get a shot at Ricochet's national championship. And then they added Tony versus Marina was added as well.
With no interference.
Yes, nobody, just Tony and Marina. Nobody else can be around.
Give me a match, please.
She made the way the women's matches have come together, which is part of my beef for Women's History Month this week, or the first week of Women's History Month. I've had some beef. This is part of it, was the way the women's matches have come about. So Tony, while we're on it, we'll go ahead and talk about Toni Storm first. First I will say, Timeless Love Bombs had a match against Mega Bad, but since Penelope is injured. And in the video that prior to AEW, when Tony was announcing this women's match for the show, he mentioned that Penelope would be out for several weeks, but possibly several months. It sounds like it's an ankle sprain, but as we've seen with Buddy Murphy, those can be foot. And then Mark Davis had a foot injury and was out for a little bit too. So we've seen that they can go one way or the other. So in the interim, Lena Cross, they said during the match, is not legally, but she is contractually obligated to fill in for Penelope as a member of Megabad. So Lena Cross will be taking her spot for the foreseeable future. So anyway, they had a really great match. They got 13 minutes. Marina pulled Tony off the apron, so Mina couldn't tag her in. They wrestled, they were fighting, and they ended up rolling under the ring. Mina gets pinned, and Megabad picks up the win. And so prior to, I think it was the main event, Tony comes out and she's yelling into the microphone. She's yelling at Marina, and she was like, I want this match. And she was like, we can't have anybody out there. It's just going to be me and you. That's it. And she was like, and then, so during the main event, which was an incredible main event, if you haven't watched it, was Claudio versus Takesha having a rematch of their C2 match. John Moxley, of course, is on commentary. Marina is standing by, and she accepts Tony's match during the main event match. And then they pop up the graphic. And so that's how that match came about. But we're gonna, while we're talking about it, we're gonna back it all the way up to actually last Monday, because it started with Raw. Started with WWE.
Raw.
Raw had 0 women's matches. First of all, 0. In 3 hours, no women's matches. But prior to that, over the weekend, Rhea Ripley and Jade Cargill were going back and forth on Twitter to set up their eventual WrestleMania match. Rhea Ripley won an Elimination Chamber. She will be facing Jade Cargill for the women's title at WrestleMania. And so that's what started out. Then Chelsea Green got involved. Then Piper got involved. And it got kind of out of hand quickly, because Jade went a little personal, and Rhea posted on her Insta story, and then she ended up, and Buddy, her husband, reposted it, and then Rhea ended up deleting it. But she said that this wasn't storyline. She wasn't having fun. They're not friends. It did not look great. And so they bring her out. They bring her and they brought her and Io Sky who is her tag team partner. They break them up and they break them up. Io said, I'll stay here on Raw. You go to SmackDown and beat Jade for the title. I'll be fine here. So they are effectively done. They were tag team champions until they dropped them. They dropped them on a Friday night. Rhea won the Elimination Chamber that Monday. Rio broke up.
Whoa.
So there's that. You can see, I know Rhea's good at her job, but you could see it on her face when she came out. She looked very upset.
Like she was struggling. Well, there's some things you just can't hide. I mean, we're all still human at the end of the day.
Yeah. And so Kathy Kelly, of course, asks her, she's like, there's been a lot that's gone on in the last 48 hours. How are you handling it? And, of course, she was very professional and talking about, just how she is going to talk to Rhea and all this. I'm sorry, Jade. I was trying to find the information. There was some stuff that obviously came out about it. She sets up the segment for Friday night, where Friday night she would come face to face with Jade. Well, that was quite interesting. They get in, they have this end ring segment, and it was kind of weird. They were just like talking about how, like, they're talking about their bodies and how, like, she was like, well, yes, Jade, your shoulders are bigger than mine. And it was just kind of very weird. They were like, basically their version of a pissing contest was about their muscles.
WWE writers.
Yeah. And so it was talking about their muscles. Jade did okay. Rhea basically ate her alive on the mic, which not a surprise. I mean, Jade is a good talker. We know that. But Rhea basically did the verbal version of what she'll do to her in the ring. And I like Jade Cargill. I'm a fan of her work. But let's not pretend that
she's anywhere near on Rhea's
level. Right.
Yeah.
And I say that with all due respect. I mean that.
I'm not even watching, I can tell you with certainty that she is not. She's fine, but she is not on Rhea Ripley's level.
No, not at all. And Bianca was never supposed to be out this long. They didn't think the recovery from her finger was going to take this long. She only had surgery like 3 weeks ago. She's not going to be cleared in time for WrestleMania. So I think they were like, we're pivoting to Rhea. Rhea's going to take the title off of her. Jade has defended her title against Jordan. She's defending it next week for the second time. It took her over 100 days to defend the title the first time. Now she's going to defend it again, and then she's probably going to lose the title. So that's what we're doing here. So then the report that came out, because obviously there are multiple things from different, like Meltzer had his own take about the situation. Then I think PW Insider had their take, and then the Fightful take on what happened with Rhea and Jade was that they went back and forth on Twitter. They spoke to numerous sources who believe that the comment starting out as a playful work, and then it took a turn when Jade mentioned, and this is where I kind of saw it take a turn too. She mentioned that Rhea Ripley talks to creative for extended periods of time, and I guess she was implying that Rhea is politics. And she doesn't, is I guess what she was implying. And that's kind of where things got out of hand. That's what led to Rhea posting what she posted. So there were a number of WWE sources that were puzzled about bringing creative up as a point to further a feud. However, we're told WWE was generally happy about the buzz that had emerged. And the feeling is that Rhea and Jade legitimately dislike each other. But it was like, it may be real, it may not be, that part of it. So it was intended to be a work in the beginning. And then Jade, from what they're saying, like,
into a shoe.
Jade went too far and it escalated. Is what it sounds like. It just says that when reports emerged about this being an entirely elaborate work, they said they would have never included creative. So that's when it started out as a work, but then Jade mentioned creative, and they were like, nobody would ever mention creative in a work, and that's when things got personal. And then, because they were saying that undermines the whole point by saying that creative, like bringing up creative in the promo, that would undermine everything.
Because it ceases to be kayfabe the minute you start bringing out the talking to creative. That's like the end of kayfabe. You just ended it. Now you're talking about, now you're attacking her professionally.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. That's kind of how it
you
turned
can talk shit all you want to.
Right.
You can say whatever you want. And the minute you drop kayfabe and talk about creative, you've become like, you're not supposed to say that stuff in front of the marks.
Right. Well, and Rhea in what she wrote before she deleted it, she said something about like, don't she said, don't lie about me. And then also don't try to break the fourth wall to get this over. So like Rhea was like that. It was that part from Rhea was legitimate. From what it sounds like.
I mean, that's fair. You should probably know better. And like, just like from a totally outside perspective, the minute you bring the backstage situation into it, you have, like she said, you broke the fourth wall just there. Right. It's not kayfabe anymore. And you have to be careful with that stuff. Like people don't understand, like text, no matter how good you know a person or think you know a person, I could message you tomorrow and you could take it totally wrong because of the way I had. And we know each other and we could have a misunderstanding. Mm-hmm. Like, you don't want to be doing that stuff online. And then again, like that, I mean, that is, you go from like playing the game to talking about my professional.
Right. Well, and see, that's what happened in last year with Tiffany Stratton and Charlotte. Tiffany brought up the fact that Charlotte brought up the divorce stuff with Charlotte. And it was really nasty.
You can't do that stuff unless you have each other's permission. I feel like, like we see that in AEW and we've seen it actually go awry, like in the worst possible way. I mean, that's what started the brawl out for all intents and purposes.
Right.
Like, you got to make sure that you guys are on the, when you are, and WWE obviously has a bad habit. I mean, look at this stuff with Roman and the cancer and the things that John Moxley wouldn't say, that he will never tell a soul about. We can only imagine, because any of us that's watched WWE for any period of time knows what they do.
Yeah. Right. And so, so it turned into, and there have been, people are talking about it in the comments, and it's mentioned here, like there were some issues with Jade last year in the locker room. There was things that, there was the rumors that she tried to fight Shayna Baszler, that she told Shayna she needed to learn how to work. And then
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, that was the thing that happened last summer, that apparently they had to be split apart. Part of the reason she was sent back to the PC is because Jade was, allegedly, rubbing a lot of women the wrong way, so they sent her to the PC to get her out of the locker room. And then, so they were talking about here, so Piper Niven made a comment about about Jade taking vacations all the time, because there was a part when Jade ended up being legitimately injured, but prior to that, there were rumors that she wasn't actually hurt. She was just taking a vacation again because she had taken other vacations. And so, Piper referenced that when she got involved in this last weekend. And it was just saying that Jade was legitimately injured. There were conflicting reports claiming she was actually on vacation. It was clarified to Fightful that she did sustain an actual injury. And then it says that Fightful reported in January that the locker room had taken notice of the fact that Tiffany Stratton, Mishan, and BFAB all missed time with injury after wrestling Jade. However, it was stated to us that there was not any heat from management on Jade for these women being injured after wrestling her. So there sounds like there's a lot of layers to this, and perhaps there is some real locker room stuff carrying,
but why would, I mean, it's WWE, no offense to the, like, I'm not saying that the women are right or wrong, but why would management care?
Right.
They're not the kind of management, they're not the kind of management structure that would seem, in my opinion, that they would care. If Jade's making them money, that's all they care about. They aren't going to care if Jade's making havoc in there, unless it becomes a problem for the bottom line.
Right. And then this says that they weren't really worried about it. They were happy about the buzz it was getting, which sounds on brand. I mean,
which is totally WWE. Totally. Yeah. No, they're the carny extraordinaires.
All promotion is good promotion. And so so they see it. Then again, they had a very promotional thing on Friday, like with they got at each other's faces, and Jade cuts this promo, drops the mic, and Rhea then just eviscerates her face to face with her, and Rhea calls herself that bitch to Jade's face, like inches away from her face, drops the mic, and it's going to be interesting. We've got 6 weeks to go before WrestleMania gets here. They've definitely built up some interest in this match, I guess, but it definitely it sounds like it started out being a work. Jade went too far, And
I wouldn't mind watching that match just to see Rhea lay in some real shot.
Is Rhea gonna sandbag her? I think she might be a little too professional for that.
I don't think she'll sandbag her. I bet you she takes in
a few legitimate shots.
That's what I'm thinking.
Probably.
I'm thinking she's not the kind of person to sandbag. She doesn't strike me as a sandbagger. She strikes me as the kind of gal that's gonna go ahead and take her receipts in the ring.
Yes. Yeah. I think so.
I mean, you know what? You run your mouth like that, then you better come correct. I mean,
especially against Rhea Ripley, who
I know, right?
Not only she's one of the company's top stars, she's a huge draw, but she can wrestle. Like, she's one of the women who actually can wrestle, and we've seen it. She has great matches.
Last year, that was like one of the best matches at WrestleMania. Yeah. Last year was her match.
Rhea's incredible.
The only match I really remember from last year's WrestleMania was her match.
Yes, exactly. They had for me, match of the weekend was that
great
match. Yeah, it was a great match. So, the reason they did that, so yes, they did take the title off Drew on Friday and put it back on Cody, but that's because Drew and Cody can't sell tickets. And Drew and Randy Orton definitely can't sell tickets. So they think Cody and Randy can sell tickets because what they're doing is saying they're hinting the play on it was Randy turned on Cody to win the Elimination Chamber match. They're not turned on him, but because they're friends, but he beat him. He pinned him to win that match to go on to WrestleMania. And Randy Orton has a chance to be a 15-time world champion should he win at WrestleMania. So that's the easy story to tell. They think it's going to sell tickets. I don't think anything that they do is going to sell tickets at this point because they keep running sales and they're not moving tickets. So, but that was the point. But then I don't think it'll sell tickets, but I think, Maria, what the Fatal 4-Way is going to be Drew versus Jacob Fatu versus Sami Zayn versus who am I forgetting? It's not LA Knight. It's I've had this conversation like 48 times, and you would think I would remember. It was Jacob Fatu, Drew, Sami, Trick Williams. That's who it'll be because of the stories that have been, the little side stories that are happening. I think that's going to be the 4-way match at WrestleMania. Especially since they took the title off Drew. But so going back to Monday night. So first there's this actually, so all this is hanging over Raw with this thing that happened on the weekend. They bring her out. Well, prior to that, they air a pre-taped promo with Liv Morgan because it's a very good thing they didn't do it live in the ring because it would not have gone over well because she's talking about, so Stephanie had cut a promo in Spanish that made her cry. I don't know why it would have made her cry because the things she said were not bad, but whatever, Liv cried because of it. And in the promo, Stephanie called Liv privileged. She talked about how, she struggled. Like in Chile at the time, there was not a lot of wrestling. There wasn't indie wrestling for her to do. She went through a lot to get to just a tryout. Well, so then Liv's taped promo, she talks about that, and she was like, yes, you're right, I am privileged. So, yes, blonde hair, blue-eyed white woman telling Latino woman, yes, I am privileged. She goes on to say, she was like, I guess you're jealous of me because you lived in a mud hut and you trained in flea-infested rings for 10 years.
Oh.
What are we doing? What are we doing? And then she continues on, and then she talks about how, all her accolades, so they could have done the I'm privileged thing and completely left out the racist lines that they included. And I was like, first of all, why are we doing this? It's gross. Secondly, do they hate Liv Morgan? Why do they keep putting her in situations? They made her do the Janelle Grant storyline last year, and now they're making her say racist things. I was like, do they hate Liv? What are we doing? It was awful. So that was early in the show. Then they do the segment with Rhea. Then there was a very awkward in-ring segment with AJ Lee. because she just won the title, and it was just, she was trying, the promo was fine. It just came off very awkward, and she was like basically made an open challenge for WrestleMania, and instead of anybody coming to challenge her, men came to the ring for their match as she's leaving. Like, it was, and then we get a little backstage thing where Lyra is hyping up Bailey to be like, oh, you should answer the open challenge. So they did that backstage instead of having anyone come answer her. Then the closing segment was Roman Reigns versus CM Punk to sell their match. And Roman seemingly was referencing the drama between the women. And he asked CM Punk, he said, he was like, did what I say online hurt your feelings? You're not thin, you're too thin-skinned to be a champion. But that seemed like a direct shot at Rhea and Jade. And it was like, then, like, the whole thing they're doing is basically everything. Like, my editor was like, this is all the stuff that Jade was getting reamed for online, and Roman Reigns is turning around and doing it. So, like, they know what they're doing. They're paying attention. And then there was like something else I'm trying to remember. It was just completely, the whole segment sucked. The promo from Roman was not, I mean, the stuff from CM Punk wasn't that great either. They had a really good promo battle right when the match was announced, but this one was not good. And then they're saying those things, and Rhea Ripley is backstage while they're mocking her, basically. Like, you have one of your biggest champions in the company basically mocking your highest, like, one of your highest rated women superstars. Like, it was just, all of it was just very unfortunate.
Sam, are you telling me that the honeymoon era is over?
It's been over.
Are you telling me that Paul Levesque is not the booking creative genius that I was led to believe by all of the WWE faithful?
Yeah. I told you guys way back then.
I am so whelmed by this news. I'm whelmed. I am whelmed by this.
Yeah. And then, so then we have later in the week, we have Road Dogg quitting his position, his co-writing position with SmackDown. I don't think it's going to happen, but do not listen to Eric Bischoff, Tony Khan. Do not hire Road Dogg.
Oh my God, please no. I will seriously, no.
He will go,
That's a bad Tony Khan.
Do not try to reunite Billy Gunn and Road Dogg on TV. Nobody wants that. Do not do it.
No, it is 2026.
Don't do it. But definitely, Mike Gilbert, who is being Mike Gilbert about it, said he would love for AEW to hire him to see what kind of segments he could write for Brody King.
Oh, Mike. It's a good thing that I like that guy and know he's a just big goofus.
Yeah, please don't do that,
dude.
Yes, but Mike, and shout out to Mike. He got to go to TNA this weekend after they blocked him on the Twitter machine, and and then realized that was not the correct thing to do, and then invited him to Atlanta. So good for him. Yeah, the build for WrestleMania is trash. I think part of it is they still don't know what they're doing. I think that's a lot of it. Their tickets are not selling, and so they're shocking. The women are not going to main event again for, I believe, the 5th WrestleMania in a row. So that's not happening. Yeah, as Daza said, Orton getting the main event feels like we got nothing else. There was lying on a little bit of, I mean, granted, he's never gone away, but it's almost the nostalgia type of thing here running this match. As Michael says, that this is the most soggy cornflakes build to WrestleMania in quite some time. No buzz at all. No, it's bad.
That's not good.
It is not good at all. Like, last year's WrestleMania, I did not care for outside of like 2 matches were really good. And then the match that stole the show, or that should have been on the show, was put on SmackDown, which was the tables, ladders, and chairs match with DIY, Motor City, and the Street Profits. Mm-hmm. And now Motor City is probably going to be left off the card again this year. because they did a tag team turmoil match on Friday, because like they have not, so Solo Sikoa and Tama Tonga they won the tag titles in January and have yet to defend it. The tag team division has basically been around backstage in various segments. One is what's wrong with Johnny Gargano? Why is he planking all the time? Because he's depressed because Tommaso Ciampa left him. What's in the crate? And then having R-Truth explain again, because they did this segment back in, I think, December, explaining how to use the ESPN app. The tag teams were around for that. So then finally Friday, they decided that they were going to do a tag team turmoil match. And they put in, actual tag teams. And then I guess because they don't have DIY, they made a fake DIY and they put in R-Truth and Damian Priest as the tag team. They are now making Damian Priest a comedy act. I guess is where they're doing with this. Okay. So it starts out really great match with Motor City and Fraxium. Match of the night, probably anywhere. Except Motor City botched something. It was the referee was, so Axiom was pinning Chris Sabin. The referee was behind them. Alex Shelley put Chris Sabin's foot on the rope too late, and the ref counted to 3 and Motor City got eliminated from the match. And I don't think that we all think that was not what was supposed to happen. We think that Alex Shelley's timing was off and it cost. I mean, I think had the match continued, like had he gotten the foot up in time, because he did it right in front of Nathan Frazier, they probably would have continued the match a little bit longer. Fraxium still probably would have eliminated him. I just don't think it was supposed to be eliminated that way. Now they are teasing a breakup of Motor City. And I'm going to lose my mind because you don't do anything with them as a tag team. You're certainly not going to do anything with them as individual wrestlers.
No, why would you?
So they're teasing a breakup right now because they because Sabin confronted Alex Shelley backstage and they're like, well, we have some things to talk about. So they walked away. Chris tweets a little after the show goes off the air, says Motor City Machine Guns is fine. Then the video where he is eliminated, Chris tweeted and said, delete this. So they're teasing that. Mind you, they just lost DIY. They're already down a tag team. Now we're making a fake tag team, as I call them, faux DIY on Friday. So faux DIY wins. So the R-Truth and Damian Priest are getting a number one contender. They are the number one contenders now for these tag titles. Street Profits are nowhere to be seen. They pulled them off TV months ago. They're not around. And DIY is no more, and then Motor City is doing whatever, so they're probably going to miss WrestleMania again this year. So, yeah, lots of great things happening there.
My.
Yeah. LaRon makes a very good point. If Rhea's politicking, she's not good at it because she's not politicked her way into a WrestleMania main event yet.
True story.
Yeah,
that's a pretty stupid thing to say anyway. That's pretty bush league.
Yeah, Crash says Rhea just needs to get her dad or another male member of her family to run for office, but it's not guaranteed.
Depends on what side of what color their shirts are.
Yeah. Michael says they've also played the nostalgia card too much. Now your fans expect The Rock, Travis Scott, and John Lee and Cena level surprises, but you're giving them Danhausen's at Cena prices. Listen, I will say it's been 2 shows and WWE does not get the benefit of the doubt. But the way that they have used Danhausen since his debut on Monday and Friday, which by the way, we still have yet to see Royce Keys. Danhausen, the way they've done it so far on those Monday and Friday appearances, they have done it correctly. Again, it's the bare minimum for one thing. It's 2 shows. I'm not saying they know what they're doing. They're going to continue to do right. But they did a backstage segment on Monday where Danhausen thinks that Adam Pearce is stone cold because he's bald, and he's reading. He was calling him Cold Stone, I think is what he was calling him. And then he has this list of demands. I want to be in the WWE Hall of Fame this year. I want a blimp. I want a mentor who can make me a champion. And there was a couple other things. Oh, and he said he wanted the famous pointing picture from Triple H. Well, he got the famous pointing picture from Triple H. They did give him that. And then so Friday he shows up on SmackDown. He's talking to Nick Aldis, and he's like, maybe you can help me, with my list of demands. And he talks to him about that, and he was like, I really need a mentor. And he's like, it's not my job to find you a mentor. And Danhausen's like, yeah, it kind of is. And I'm not thrilled about it, but at least it's going to probably get Danhausen the storyline. He turned him over to The Miz. He said, Miz, you talk about how you're a locker room leader. I have a new upcoming superstar they want you to mentor. And he gives him Danhausen and walks away. So Danhausen is the Miz's problem. And so Danhausen's been tweeting him all weekend, asking him if he has a pool for swimming. Well, I think he asked him for his phone number, and he's been tweeting.
Amazing.
So they at least have a plan in place for Danhausen. How well it's going to stay, I don't know, but they at least have something for him. Unlike Royce, who apparently Nikki has said she's like, I bet they're trying to teach Royce Keys the WWE way. There's a report out from WrestleVote saying that they are kind of because it was apparently it was misaggregated. They were saying that they had nothing for Royce Keys, and then the actual quote was, "Do you have an update?" And that person said no. Nothing, absolutely nothing. As far as they didn't have an update, not that WWE had no plans for him. They speculated for months that SmackDown would be the place for him. It seems like that's going to be his home. He was backstage. They don't know when he's going to be on TV. And then apparently there were some other reports that he's kind of learning how WWE works their matches, where the camera is. They obviously wrestle a very different way than AEW. And then it said most wrestlers kind of go through that type of training where they kind of learn like, hey, we don't do that here. This is what we do here.
Right.
And so we're teaching him how to do that.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. That's pretty common for WWE.
Crash. So they're trying to fill out Royce's relation. But Danhausen has a storyline currently, and it appears that Royce Keys does not. So,
okay, well,
there's
here we are.
And then while I have bones to pick with Raw handling Women's History Month so far, I have some bones to pick with AEW as well, because they, first of all, we did get, we got our quarterly 2 Dynamite matches this week, and we had the Brawling Birds wrestle the Inspiration. And I told Nikki, I was like, I don't know how they're going to do this. The Brawling Birds can't take losses right now. We're building them up as this monster tag team, but you can't really have the Inspiration lose either. So I don't know what they're going to do. Well, their answer was to have the Brawling Birds beat the Inspiration in 88 seconds. And I was like, I guess I'm not surprised that it was a squash, but they got under 3 minutes. And I was like, I get it on the storytelling point of the Brawling Birds are this really vicious team. They should be beating teams like that. But on the other hand, the Inspiration are former WWE and TNA tag team champions. You debuted them on a house show. People were mad about that. Now you have them getting squashed on their TV debut. People are now questioning why you even signed them. Is this how the rest of their time is going to play out? And I was like, but then we've heard the Inspiration have regressed a lot in the ring. So perhaps that's why they went with the squad. I don't know. I was not expecting that. I thought it would at least get, 5 or 6 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I was not expecting 88 seconds. And I was like, whoa. I don't know. I guess this is one of those let it play out type of things. Maybe they're going somewhere with this. I just don't know where they're going.
It's weird. I don't know.
I mean, on the one hand, Takesha lost all of his matches for a year but I don't recall him being squashed in any of them. So I don't know if they're going with this thing of the Inspiration loses a bunch of matches and then they get on a winning streak and the fans get behind them. Like, I don't know if that's where we're going with this, but it just, I don't know. It was questionable. And again, I'm not the biggest fan of theirs, but I thought that was,
but if you're pushing them or trying to make them relevant to your division,
Right.
that's probably not the way you start out.
Exactly.
But that was my feeling too, where I was like, okay, I get it. But also at the same time, like, why did you bring them here if you were just going to are you bringing them here to get beat by all the tag teams and all the,
Right.
I mean,
which is possible, but like, do you have to squash them? Can you let them get in?
Well, yeah, I mean, can you at least have
like
it?
You have Mark Davis, who prior to the trios, which we'll get to, but Davis was in these singles matches and he was losing all of them.
Yeah.
But he came close to beating Jon Moxley. He's come close to winning multiple matches. They made him look good in the meantime. And maybe that's to keep him looking good for whenever Jake returns. But like, so you can do these things and let them take all these losses, but still get in a bunch of stuff. They didn't let the Inspiration do anything. And so, yeah, I was really surprised by that. I don't know where they're going with this. I don't know. Maybe it is going to build we're going to get the fans, they're going to lose a bunch of matches, but like, are they going to be squash matches every time until they start picking up wins? And I don't know. How
are you going to get the fan base behind them if you're not getting them?
That's what I'm saying. Are you going to have them lose a whole bunch of matches and then finally pick up wins and get the fans back, kind of like they did with? Yeah, you're gonna have to give us a reason to care about them in the first place, though. I mean, right.
Otherwise, we have no connection to feel sorry for them or to feel excited when they start to turn it around. Like that's.
So I don't know I don't know what the point.
It was weird. It was definitely weird.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with the Brawling Birds winning because I think that
of course they need
are
to be
a dominant
tag
team. They're eventually. I think that I still stand by them becoming champions at All In.
Yeah.
So that all makes sense, but having it be the Inspiration and having a squash in 88 seconds, I don't understand.
Yeah,
I don't know where we're going with this. And then you have, Tekla and Thunder Rosa wrestle. Tekla wins. Then you have Chris come out they didn't have Chris come out. That would have been the time to have Chris come out. But then they have Tommaso Ciampa come out and have FTR come out. They do this segment, and FTR is trying to get Ciampa. They're like, we were friends once, obviously talking about NXT. And, we want, come hang out with us. Tommaso doesn't want any part of it. And then they imply, or basically said, Dax was wrestling Tommaso on Collision. And then during the main event, popped up a graphic to say that FTR was defending their titles against the Rascals at Collision. So it didn't make any sense. And then after the show goes off the air, they air a promo on Twitter of Stat calling out Tekla, saying that she wants to have a 2 out of 3 falls match at Revolution. What are we doing? You had the perfect opportunity to do that on TV. First of all, the Tommaso FTR thing didn't. I mean, I know why it happened because it played out last night. That could have been a backstage segment.
Mm-hmm.
They could have even had that be an online segment. That was completely unnecessary. But I don't recall a men's world title match ever being made for a pay-per-view in a promo that aired on social media.
That was so okay. So that makes total sense because I missed that. And then got to Collision and was like, "Oh, it's 2 out of 3 falls." I wonder when they decided that
because they aired the promo. They aired Stat's promo that they aired. So they put it online Wednesday immediately after Dynamite goes off air. Then they air it last night. Then you have Tekla come out to respond to it because I believe Stat's in the UK for Pro Wrestling Eve, so she was not there last night. So they have Tekla responding, and she's like, "No, we're not doing this. The challenger doesn't get to make."
That makes so much more sense.
And she was like, "No, I'm not doing 2 out of 3 falls." And she keeps saying, "No, she's not going to do it." But then they pop up the graphic saying that Stat versus Tekla is 2 out of 3 falls, and that they're still doing that match, even though your champion just said, I'm not doing it. And then they pop the graphic up. So apparently they still are doing it. And so we had that. It was just, it was not great for the women this week on Dynamite either. And then, of course, like we said, on Collision, you get the match. You get Tony coming out and making the match. And then Marina accepts it during a men's match in the main event.
Mm-hmm.
And I get it. I know a lot of your women are wrestling in other countries this weekend. But like we could have handled that so much better. So hopefully they did at least, I guess AEW did at least tweet out an International Women's Day graphic today. So
that's good.
At least they did that, I guess. But I was like, what are we doing here? Michael said at this point, AEW women's matches are going to be web exclusives only. Oh, they're just hiding behind them.
Don't even say that. Yeah, right.
Yeah. So
don't put it out there, guys. Cut it out.
So yeah, that's how the first week of Women's History Month has gone in WWE and AEW this week.
Oh, wrestling.
Yeah, and then
some days.
Yeah, so I have mixed feelings about. I don't mind the Ciampa heel turn.
Sure.
And I noted and of course my WWE brain kicked in when I saw Tommaso walking up the stage with Briscoe, and I was like, "Oh my God, they're not gonna do the Johnny Gargano spot." And then they did the Johnny Gargano spot. And I guess I don't really have a problem with Psycho. He's the Psycho Killer. That's his gimmick. I enjoy the Psycho Killer. I just don't like him being associated with FTR. Why do we need FTR to make Ciampa into the Psycho Killer? When you literally have, when Tommaso comes out, his screen pops up and says Tommaso Ciampa, Psycho Killer. We already know his nickname. I don't need FTR being a catalyst for this. And I was like, and I don't need him involved with FTR in any way, which proves to me even more FTR is dropping those titles at Revolution as if I already expected it, but I guess they need something for FTR to do once they drop the titles. Why it has to involve Tommaso Ciampa, I don't know. I don't like it. I hate Tommaso Ciampa being involved with them.
Especially since he's kind of he's a personality unto himself, so he doesn't need to be with them. Like they're their own thing. He's his own thing. They should be their own thing.
And so and he cut a promo shirtless in his car at a gas station.
Yeah, he's great on the mic.
He cuts a really good that video that he posted online where he's talking about why he turned on Mark Briscoe, because he was like, you've had your chances at the world title. At the TNT title. You don't deserve any more shots at it. I do. I haven't got. I want my rematch. You cost me the match because you distracted me, and Daniel Garcia beat me, and he shouldn't have. All perfect. So these are all things that could make Ciampa turn without FTR's involvement. That's why I was like, why is FTR involved in this? Like he could have done this on his own without them. And I just, I don't like that part of it. But Crash says that he is not high on turning Ciampa heel so soon. I thought he was making an instant impact being a face. No folks are supposed to boo him after he stomped Mudhole and Briscoe. I think he said, Crash is asking, do they need more heels since Swerve turn? And is Ciampa going to get a TNT title shot soon since the holder is a heel? These are all good questions.
Very good questions.
And they did. They teased the Kevin Knight heel turn last night, which I love and I don't love because I don't want it to happen.
Right, of course.
Also, but it did. I tweeted it earlier and posted on Blue Sky that teasing him turning heel last night reminded me of December when Claudio defended his title in CMLL. Kevin Knight, who wrestled with Jet Speed earlier that night, Kevin Knight came out there to celebrate with him, and he is a heel. There's a picture of him standing in the ring with confetti falling all around Claudio, and Kevin Knight is in the ring. So, of course, we were like, wait, is he going to join the Death Riders? Doesn't seem like that's what's happening. But he, at the time, kept saying, people were asking him, like, why were you in the ring? And he was like, oh, I was just supporting, I'm an AEW wrestler. He's an AEW wrestler. I was just supporting, fellow AEW talent. But Speedball did not come down there until well after. And so Speedball did not celebrate with him. So, they have been kind of teasing it. Kevin's going to be a great heel. I'm just not ready for it.
Right. I know.
I don't want them to break up Jet Speed.
I get it.
But I get it. But it's going to be fun when it happens. And so, I don't know what the Ciampa stuff is. I don't know where it's leading and how soon he's going to get. How soon he gets that. But Kevin Knight, he did re-signed with AEW. That came out yesterday. I don't know if his New Japan contract is still, I don't know when that expired, if it has expired, if he's exclusive. If it did expire, is he exclusive to AEW? Which it kind of seems that way because he hasn't been in Japan since, I don't think he's been in Japan since BOSJ last year. So for his two contracts, and he signed with New Japan before he signed with AEW. He signed a New Japan contract first. So he was two contract Kevin Knight, but I don't know if that's still the case. So yeah, I don't know where we're going with that. Crush says, I just think maybe there's an awful lot of heels, and OTK tends to lean heavily towards heels holding belts and faces chasing. Yeah, so perhaps that's why. But like you said, Kyle Fletcher is a heel, and he will eventually be a babyface again. But then, speaking of Kyle, Aussie Open finally have have titles, but they're just trios titles with Okada in them, which I don't mind the title change. I did enjoy Jet Set.
It seems like they had, if they were gonna, that at least in my world tells me that Hangman's probably winning at Revolution because they got those.
That was my thought too. It also
I'm not 100% sure of that. However, it does make sense to take the trios titles off of him if he's going to retain.
That was my thought as well. I don't think Speedball is beating Fletcher for the TNT title, but now that looks a little, I guess, more realistic.
It could happen.
But then I'm super happy for Mark Davis having a title. I love Mark Davis. I'm so happy for him. But you have 48 other members of the Don Callis family, and you couldn't find 2 of them to put titles on. I get it. It's Proto-Kata. You're billing into the storyline with Takeshita, and they keep saying Takeshita doesn't have a title. Takeshita just won the TV title from New Japan at the New Beginning show in a really great match with ELP. He does have a title. I was like, please. I was like, are we just pretending he doesn't? And last night they did acknowledge that he was the TV champion. But I was like, you have 48 other members. You could have put them.
I'm pretty sure that Speedball said they had 30,000 members, didn't he?
Yes,
something like that.
Speedball's probably correct. That's probably
I was going with his number because he cracked me up because it was higher than Don Callis saying that Kenny Omega was the greatest wrestler in 10,000 years. Yeah. And so I was like, see, Speedball knows where it's at. So
yeah, it just but I was like,
Don Callis math.
I was like, there's Lance Archer, there's Rocky Romero, there's Josh Alexander, there's Echistero. Why doesn't Echistero have a title, Tony Khan?
I don't
put a title on him. But yeah, so I don't know. Then we get so they were loving having promos to make matches because after I saw the graphic first, and then I saw that the graphic was quote tweeting a promo after the show. So Hangman was like, I was distracted. It's my fault. We lost trios titles and to focus on MJF. Jet Speed should get a rematch, but I have a match already at Revolution. So I have called Mystico in, and Mystico is going to join Jet Speed. And he's going to try to help them get their trios titles back, which I have no problem with Mystico. Like, this match is insane. Jet Speed and Mystico versus Aussie Open and Okada.
Yeah.
Like that.
Hi.
That's a great match.
Yes, please.
How he got there is weird. And of course, Mystico has ties because Mystico was feuding with MJF in CMLL in Mexico. MJF was getting a ton of heel heat down there. So it makes sense that he picked Mystico because of the MJF connection. So it's like, that makes sense. I don't have, and somebody said tweeted yesterday that let's not pretend like this is what pro wrestling is for, to have matches where you can have Jet Speed and Mystico versus Okada and Kyle Fletcher and Mark Davis. Like, that's the whole point of wrestling existing.
Yeah.
So it's weird how we got there. I assume they're retaining. Kyle was trying to figure out like what they call themselves, and it was like Protocol, and I wrote in our notes Protocada Aussie Open, I think is what I wrote. And but then one of Kyle's suggestions was Okusi. And I was like, they will call it, no matter what you name it, the Fletchlights are gonna call it Okusi.
God.
The Fletchlights are gonna call it Okusi. So now that you've put that out there.
Oh, God.
So, yeah. But yeah, so they're new champions. And then we also have yet another trios team. It seems like the trios division is heating up. I don't know if it's purposely for that reason, but we had David Finlay finally show up in AEW and thankfully did not go to WWE, where they were going to put him as the leader of the Nepo Baby faction Birthright, with all the wrestlers who do not use their family name as their characters. Not even his own brother, Brogan, does not wrestle as Brogan Finlay. He wrestles as Uriah Connor. But they were going to have, apparently they lowballed him several times. We're going to send him to NXT, and AEW was obviously going to put him in a storyline right off the bat on AEW television. And he, I think, made the right choice. And thankfully. And I really hope that Jay White is going to be healthy soon, because I need Jay White and David Finlay. Because Nikki and I talked about this too, and I think Nikki said it first, but I was thinking it. David Finlay told Jay when he left New Japan, if you were stupid enough to give up this spot, I am taking it and everything you had. And now he is in the same company with him. He has followed him across the ocean. A little bit later, after he made a name for himself, after he created the War Dogs, was champion, I believe, what was he? Was he the inaugural global champion? I believe he was.
Think so.
Yeah. He went from C Block champion all the way to to global champion. Now he has followed Jay White here. I hope Jay White is healthy soon, and then, as someone pointed out, other than I guess AJ, they had 3 AEW employees, 3 of the 4 Bullet Club leaders that have led at some point. And somebody, because I saw Warren Hayes talking about it, and somebody was like, but Cody is in WWE. And he's like, don't even get me started. Cody was not the leader of Bullet Club.
He was trying to be.
He was
leader,
trying
to
be.
Never.
Fine, but he was never actually the leader.
Never actually got there.
Yes. So I was like, oh, that could be fun for them to play up at some point, especially because, like, I think last year rather, was the 10-year anniversary of the beginning of Bullet Club, and nobody really did anything with it. New Japan didn't really do anything. It would be fun for them to do something with Kenny and David and Jay White. Would be a lot of fun that they could do with that. God, I would love for them to do that. And then Chris Bay also tweeted when he saw Finlay was there, he tweeted out Bullet Club, and it was him and Ace Austin, because they are members of the Bullet Club. They're in Bullet Club Black and Gold. And they were never, which is why Ace Austin is with Juice and Jay, because they were all together with Bullet Club, and they are the ones who invited. I believe they are the ones, if I remember my lore correctly, I believe they were the ones who invited ABC into Bullet Club. So they could do, Ace Austin is there, Juice is there. They could do a lot of really fun stuff with that if they wanted to. So I like, and apparently, I guess because they were War Dogs in Japan, I don't know if it's trademarked or if they just are doing something different. So they're just the dogs here. And we got their first match last night. They just tore apart 3 indie wrestlers and just
they did
beat the crap out of them to assert their dominance. But yeah, so I'm really I again have my feelings about Gabe Kidd, but I really like David Finlay. I really like Clark Connors.
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested to see is this going to be a trios thing? Are they eventually going to do trios titles with them, or are they doing something else? Juice is back. Juice wrestled in ROH last week. He's healthy.
Sweet.
I still don't know anything about Jay White, but they can definitely bring Juice in to do some Bullet Club stuff if they needed to in the meantime. So there's that. So, definitely have some things that we could be doing there. Yes, I would say David Finlay made the right decision.
Agree. I'm so glad.
Michael said, I can't believe that was the idea they had for David F. Finlay NXT.
Oh,
Not only NXT, but leading a faction of other wrestlers. And I think it's the Birthright faction is Uriah, who is his brother, Brogan, and Stax, Elite, Ariana Grace, and Lexus King, which is Brian Pillman Jr. So that was going to be the faction of people he was leading. And
that sounds like a terrible idea.
And I don't mean this is not anything negative against Danhausen, because love that Danhausen, but you were going to put Danhausen on the main roster, but not David Finlay. And you aren't using Royce Keys right at this very moment on the main roster. And I was like, this is not a great. So yeah, good for him. I'm glad he made that choice. No, I'm glad that he didn't. I want FTR in the Bucks because I want the Bucks to beat FTR, especially after taking out their family. I think that was the smart thing to do. I think the Rascals will get I'm guessing they'll get them now before Jet Speed, because it sounds like Jet Speed's gonna break up. So I wanted Jet Speed with the titles. Yeah, that match, the Rascals had FTR beat like 3 different times in that match last night. Crash says he would love to see Bang Bang Gang and the Dogs unite as a heel faction. That would be an immense faction. They would seem like a real threat running against the grain of the status quo. That could be fun.
Yeah, it could.
But then how do but then you're going to have the infight, because I don't know that Jay White will play second fiddle to David Finlay.
Oh,
and
gosh,
maybe that's the whole point, is
there's some beef
between them, but Finlay is the leader of the Dogs. Like that's his group that's his group. And so I don't know, but I don't think Jay is going to want to play second fiddle to David Finlay. But they could do some fun stuff with it for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crash says a modern day DX, but without the misogynist of the 90s cheese.
True story.
Eddie Kingston has been having really bad migraines and has not been able to wrestle. He pulled himself off of indie shows last weekend or the weekend before last, and he told Tony that he needed to take some time away while he was dealing with that. So he's been dealing with the migraines, apparently, like very severe, clearly severe enough that he can't even compete.
Yeah, that'll mess you up.
So that is where he's been. Hopefully he is doing well and be back on TV soon, because I missed him. Yeah. I absolutely don't think FTR are beating the Bucks. I think the Bucks are in their hometown, or near enough their hometown. FTR attacked their family. I don't see why you would have. It would be, not only because I don't like FTR, but it would be extremely disappointing to have all this happen to the Bucks to have FTR retain. Would just make, and what are they going to do? Like the last time they were champions, they were starting to do some of the stuff where they weren't defending their titles, or they weren't wanting to put anyone over. And if they're doing this, then who is going to beat them? Because apparently not the Rascals. So I don't see FTR retaining next weekend. I think that would be a huge mistake to have them win again, because I don't know how you have them. Then who takes the titles off of them if it's not going to be the Bucks? Especially if we're eventually getting, I don't know if it's still the plan, but if we're eventually getting to the Bucks versus Cope and Christian, you can't have the Young Bucks beat FTR later on down the road. Like, you need to do it now. I don't, how are you going to get a rematch again and have them win it? I mean, I guess there's enough time between now and All In. Again, assuming that's still the route we're going, I have no idea. Cope is, I think, filming something else. I don't know where Cope and Christian are when they're planning to come back. So unless I don't like it, the only other, it's the same scenario from last year, is if Cope and Christian come back at Revolution, cost the Bucks the match, then they get a title shot at Dynasty and win the titles in Canada, which I don't love because Cope and Christian have been off TV for months. And the Young Bucks have rebuilt this whole, that's where you have this whole story of them realizing, hey, we've been assholes for months. We were really mean to people. Let's fix this. And then we've been on this redemption story for them, and to have them lose to FTR in Los Angeles, which is they're from California, I think that would not be a good idea, but maybe some of them my FTR bias, but I just think from a storyline standpoint, if you're redeeming the Bucks, then you have to have them win, especially when they attacked their family members.
And they could very well just show up after the Bucks win and just be like, hi, we're standing here, and do one of those like New Japan moments where it's like, we're next and you don't want none of this. We're back. We're buddies. We've worked ourselves out. Yeah. He knows who he is. I know who I am. And we're going to come kick your ass. And then they torture them for the next month until they end up at Dynasty, is Dynasty in Canada?
Yes.
Okay, so
I think it's in Vancouver, but still in Canada.
I think you're right. The Canadian one is in Vancouver. I just didn't know if that was the Canadian one that was coming. So it's March or May 12th or something like that. So it's about a month away.
No, Dynasty's in April.
Oh, okay, April 12th. Then maybe probably.
Yeah, I think
it's like a month away. It's like it's almost exactly a month.
Yeah.
Yeah. So sorry, March, April. I'm skipping right over April already.
Listen, we haven't had like 2 months. I mean, it's been like 3 months since the last pay-per-view. So it feels like long stretches in between. Fernando predicts that Cope and Christian will interfere to help the Bucks win. Crash says his bet is TK are waiting for Cope and Christian. Seems too obvious to let the Bucks win because FTR pissed off their family. FTR have a lot of heat. They can go away with that heat. And don't drag Ciampa down with them. But then Crash says the California hometown crowd does suggest it's always possible for the Bucks to win. I'm leaning to FTR just so TK continued to wind out everyone else up and build. But he's got to actually build for it. Like, we need teams for him to, like, this was the problem the last time, is but then that also was Tony's booking, where it took a while to get the tag team titles scene back on track, because there was the whole Private Party debacle. Then there was the Hurt Syndicate, who was better. Then there was the rumors with Jet Speed. They didn't want to drop the titles to them, and that whole mess. And now we got that straightened out, and it seems like we seem to be on the right track with the tag team division. And I think leaving it on FTR too long is going to put them right back where they were 2 years ago or 3 years ago, whatever it was. So Michael says that TK has got to be careful where he run into the problem WWE has, where you keep running your same old favorites while signing but not elevating new talent. Right. That would be very bad. So we shall see how that plays out. And then let's see, all kinds of other wrestling news. Ishii is injured. New Japan announced he is they announced that like a day or two before the New Japan Cup started. He is out for, I don't think there was a timetable for his return, but he's out of the New Japan Cup. And I have not watched any of the Cup yet, but I heard about Aaron Wolf and what they did to him. And I don't know if if Steven had another rant. But from what I've seen, it would definitely warrant another rant if there was one, but I haven't had a chance to check out the Cup yet. But I hate that for Ishii. I hope it's not the leg. I believe it's the neck, I think is what they announced, that it was not the leg.
I think I heard that too, and yuck.
Yeah. And it was something that happened It was he wrestled. They because they pre-taped Collision last weekend, so it was not in his match. So they filmed the match with Andrade the Wednesday prior, and then he wrestled on Friday. He wrestled a banger match with Bolton Oleg, and Oleg won, which I'm wondering now if that's why Ishii dropped the title, is because he was injured and was going to need to be taking time off, or if that was something that if it was already planned and then Ishii was actually hurt during the match. Apparently so. Apparently it is there.
It turns out it's there.
It's there somewhere, and apparently it's where it is can be injured. But I hope Ishii, I hope he comes back soon if it's nothing too serious, and I hope he does not. I really hope this does not affect Hot Boy Summer that Ishii tends to have in AEW.
Yeah, hell
year.
yeah.
So, and that match with Andrade was really good. I mean, I expected it to be, because I do have to admit, Andrade is wrestling at a really great level right now. Ishii's always having like G1 matches in AEW. So I love that guy. Crash said Ishii, such a worry, was struggling through the injury on Collision, and New Beginning kept favoring his hip and his hamstring. Yeah, because originally when I saw that Ishii had been injured, I assumed that's what it was going to say, and then it wasn't, and so. But I hope he comes back soon. I really love that. I really love that guy. Then we found out that Lady Frost's contract is expiring on April the 1st, which I hate to hear because I am a huge fan of Lady Frost. I think she's so talented. She has a really cool gimmick. She has a really cool character. She brings in her gymnastics background into her work. She has a really cool look about her. I don't know why Tony did not utilize her better in AEW, but even ROH. ROH is somebody that could have really used her. She was somebody that I would have, if I were booking the show, I would have put the title on her at some point. She's been in CMLL, apparently has built up a following down there because she's been having that's where she's been for the last few months. Like she just like randomly showed up on AEW television. I guess they were like, well, let's get you on TV one more time before your contract runs out. And then she released, so around the time that the news came out, she released this really amazing video that she did with Danny, Danny did the really cool Julia Hart video when the vignettes that Julia was doing before she came back from injury. And those were really cool. And she did some really cool stuff with the Righteous before they showed up in TNA. And she's done like really cool photo shoots with like Brian Cage and Kevin Knight. She's done some really cool photo shoots with, I love her work. And so I could tell when I was watching this, I was like, this looks like Danny's work. And then I saw in the replies that she put that's who worked with her. And then she ended up tweeting it out during the next day, that they filmed it sometime last year. Lady Frost paid for it out of her own pocket. She basically directed or I guess wrote out what she wanted it to be. And Danny helped her bring it to life. And she was saying, this is how she wants to be presented. And that video was really good. And I, again, don't understand why Lady Frost has not been utilized the way that she should be, because she's a fantastic talent. I don't know where she's going to go. I don't know if she stays with CMLL, if she goes to WWE, if they even have interest in her, or if she goes and does the indies. Whatever she does, I think she'll be super successful at, because she's a really cool talent. So I hope she does well. And I was very disappointed to hear that she'll be leaving in a few weeks. And then some more wrestling news we had this week, because TNA did not want to be left out of the conversation. It turns out that so it broke a few days ago. 2 wrestlers have quit TNA, and it turns out Steph DeLander and her husband Mance Warner. And the reason they left is because Steph DeLander has been she has not wrestled since May of 2024. She's had 2 surgeries, and turns out she's paid for her surgeries by herself out of pocket. She said she did an interview with TMZ Sports, and let me see if I hope I have all these quotes saved because it was insane. The stuff that apparently I didn't have it saved. Let me see if I can find it, because she was saying how she has like a $9,000 bill from her insurance because she has maxed out her insurance because of her surgeries. And hang on, let's see if I can find it, because these quotes are insane. I thought I had it saved, but apparently I did not do that, which would help me if I had gotten all of it, because it was a lot. But then she says on Monday that this past Monday, beginning Women's History Month, she finds out. Yeah, happy Women's History Month. She received a phone call on Monday saying that she'll never wrestle in TNA again. They don't feel comfortable, or they did want to clear her. And she has tweeted, like I had seen a tweet from her several weeks ago where she was wanting to find like help. She needed help finding a specialist for her neck. And people were like, why is TNA, your employer, not finding you a specialist? And then people, of course, were like tagging Daniel Bryan and Adam Copeland, and they were like, can you help her get in touch with your specialist to see, because she was working to find someone who could help her out with that. And then hold on, I think I may have found it in this article. All right, well, apparently this article doesn't want to load. I want to make sure I get because these quotes were insane. Like, I guess I shouldn't be surprised, but yeah. So she said, so here's one where she said I've had neck surgery, and she said I've actually had 2 neck surgery, and no one knows that. I've only posted about 1. I actually had 2. My surgeon wanted to put a little bit more hardware in there, but I'm fully recovered, fully healed. I actually went to WWE's spinal surgeon to do the surgeries, and I got clearance a few weeks ago. I'd been pitching storylines and working my way towards an in-ring return with TNA, but then I received a phone call on Monday of this week. Basically, they never wanted me to wrestle at TNA again. They just didn't feel comfortable with that, so I made the decision to leave, and my husband did too, in solidarity. I had a feeling this was the way it was going, because every time I broached the subject about my in-ring return, I felt like the higher-ups were avoiding the question. We were snowballing towards the projected date, and I was not getting any answer, so I felt like this was coming. I reached out to my boss and was like, look, if there's been a conversation about me not wrestling again, just let me know. Carlos Silva called me on Monday and said, look, we're not comfortable with you wrestling. And I was like, well, I'm literally fully cleared. And he said, yep, not into that. And then I asked, do you know what my injury is? And he didn't know. He couldn't tell me what my injury was. I've not been evaluated by any medical professional on the TNA end. They have a chiropractor at the shows, and I think one other doctor who I've barely spoken with. So they haven't even evaluated my medical history. They haven't contacted my surgeon. They haven't looked at any of my medical stuff, and they made a personal decision, and that's where we're at now.
Wow.
Which is
messed up.
Insane. And I was like, how do you not know what your employee's injury is? Like, that's just crazy to me that they don't even know that much. I meing, I guess I shouldn't be surprised because, TNA has been a TNA. And I was like, you aren't doing yourself any favor by, saying you don't know what's wrong with your wrestler, and why they've been out since 2024. And then they did, luckily for them, they did show up in GCW last night. They are back there. That's where Mance was. He was the World Champion there. And so they did go back there last night. And then Effie announced that Stephanie will be at the Big Gay Brunch. I don't know from the match announcement. I assume she's competing, but I'm not. It wasn't clear. They just announced her for that. But yeah, so that's just awful. I can't imagine what that's like. Not have your boss A doesn't know what your injury is, and then B they aren't even like looking into your medical history to see if you're ready to come back. And they're just kind of making a decision. It sounds like it was more, like she says, sound like it was more personal than anything, than it being based on having her back, which is just...
That just seems like a convenient way to cut somebody off the payroll to me.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, that's all that sounds like. Sadly, that sounds like just shady business right there, is that, oh, well, you've been injured and you can't work and we just don't want to take the chance because we need to cut people and it's convenient for us, and bye.
Right.
So that sucks, because coming back from, I mean, that's all neurology. So spine and, brain and all of that are neurologists. It's bad enough that, like, not knowing.
Yeah.
But having to, like, literally just go to Twitter and be like, can anyone help me find a second opinion, is the worst thing. Believe me, I see that all the day in the disability and chronic illness community. It's sad, but true. But my goodness, like, get the F out of here. You're working for a professional wrestling company regardless. And they're all running around like, we're going to overtake AEW. And I'm like,
good luck with
not
that.
if you kill all your wrestlers. I mean...
I was like, it sounds like they're too busy trying to please WWE and whatever it is.
I'm sure that's
they're not
entirely
paying attention. They're not paying attention to their own stuff. And
I mean, that was my, I guess, in my mind, I guess I could sort of just like assume that in my mind, is this has everything to do with trying to make us look like better to WWE, however that goes.
Right. And so, and I was curious because obviously some people were, a friend was like, do you think they'll go to WWE? And she was in WWE. She was in NXT. She was Persia Perota for a little bit. She got released and went and did the indies for a while before going to TNA. So, I mean, and they have been there since when they were doing the TNA was invading NXT. Mance and Steph both went there and did that. So, I mean, it's certainly possible, but a lot of people forget that Jon Moxley handpicked Mance Warner to wrestle on Rampage back in the COVID times, or right around the COVID times. He handpicked him because that's when Jon Moxley was doing stuff with GCW. Mance had been, obviously Mance was with GCW for a really long time. And I think Mance is, I think he's super underrated, and especially on the microphone. Like Mance can, God, he can cut a promo, and he's so good at it. And he's severely underrated. So I wouldn't rule out seeing them in AEW. I think he could be a lot of fun. He was part of the Second Gear crew with Eddie Kingston. So they have a friendship and a connection, so they could do that. Steph is somebody that, if they obviously, I guess, cleared her and felt like she can compete again, it's somebody that you can add to your women's division in either ROH or AEW. So I wouldn't rule that out, but I guess maybe it's so new and maybe they want to, I mean, Tony is signing a lot of people right now.
Yeah,
so I don't know what that looks like, but I'm glad that they at least are back in GCW so they can get some kind of an income, because she says she's got a $9,000 bill that she's eventually got to pay off.
Yeah,
so
that's ugly.
Hopefully she can get that.
She reached her max out of pocket and now has to pay that and whatever associated hospital fees there are.
Yeah.
We have products that can help you fix that, but I'm sure she couldn't afford it, because if you can't afford the insurance or your employer isn't taking care of you in the first place, that kind of pwns the entire deal.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, and I get it, Michael, that he said he loves Mance and stuff, but I wouldn't want them in AEW. There's barely any TV time for a talent we have, which fair, but if they found room for them, I would not mind seeing them. And then, it is very shady. It's so shady. That's all I was like, this just sounds completely on brand.
Carney is going to Carney.
Yeah, I hope that she can build it into something positive, because that's got to be rough going through not only one but two neck surgeries and then just going through
losing your job as the result of it.
Right, exactly. Trying to get healthy and trying to be able to do stuff.
Only to have your employer be like, nah, we decided that we can't accommodate for you.
Yeah.
I feel for her.
Yeah, Michael says you have TNA. You have some calling yourself the number 2 promotion in the country, and you don't even have medical.
I know, right?
Oh,
or
so
you have it, but just for the people that you care about. Like, what is that?
Yeah, exactly.
That right there shows you everything you need to know. I mean,
yeah,
maybe it'll be better for them. Like, here's hoping that this is the best thing that happens to them.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, definitely.
If they don't even care about your health, I mean, your boss doesn't. You're an athletic company, and your boss doesn't know what your freaking injury is. I've never heard of such a thing.
That's insane. But like, again, it goes.
We would break our toes.
Everything we know about TNA.
I know, yeah.
But it's still.
I mean, like, you break a toe in club, and they'd be like, some trainer would, even girls. You know, I broke my toe in club, and the only trainer that we have is still going to make sure that my toe is okay.
Right.
Like, give me a break.
You would think.
That's just bad business.
It is. And good for them for, doing what was best for them. And good for Mance for standing by his wife.
I'm glad GCW
standing in solidarity
still out there.
Yeah, the GCW is there to welcome them back. I mean, Steph was doing stuff in GCW. That's how she and Mance met in the first place. Cool. Mance was there for a really long time. That's how, Mance, like I said, Mance was world champion.
I saw when he was here. So
yeah, he was a world champion when they were doing that underground stuff that that was on TV for 5 minutes. Mance was one of the big draws there. So the indie scene definitely, I think, will welcome them back. I mean, they were still doing, I think Mance has still been doing some indie stuff while in TNA, but hopefully they can make some really good money while they're out there, and that stuff can, be cleared and wrestle and get back in the ring and do clearly what she wants to do, because TNA was just like not going to let that happen. And then we have LaRon giving us some updates about the Pro Wrestling Eve show that I'm hopefully going to get to this evening. I might watch the Amazona show, the CMLL show first. So at some point, hopefully I'll get to both of these shows this week, because I did finally get to the New Japan New Beginning show last week. Last Sunday, we watched everything but the last 2 matches. And then Thursday night, we watched Athena versus Shuri, which was incredible. Definitely match of the year contender. Somebody said before I saw it, they were like, they beat the piss out of each other, and I can confirm that that's what they did. It was amazing. And then the main event was really good too. It was Andrade versus Tsuji for the global title. Tsuji did retain. Then Tsuji cut a promo in English, and I believe that's the first time he's ever cut a promo in English. It's very cool, talking about how New Japan is the greatest promotion in the world, and the whole show was great from top to bottom. Like, it's so far one of the shows of the year. I really, really enjoyed it, so I can't wait to watch the other stuff. But Crash has let us know that Alex Winza beat Shuri for the strong women's title. So she did what Athena could not do. Wait, no, I take that back. Athena was not wrestling for the strong title. She was wrestling for the IWGP title, I believe. I want to say. I think that was correct. I think I'm confusing myself, because Shuri had 2 titles and Alex beat her. So that's fun, especially with, I'm sure there's some more strong shows on our New Japan shows in the USA on the horizon. Lauren says the Pro Wrestling E show had some really good matches. Chris and Charlie are putting on a really good match. Charlie is the former Dakota Kai. I heard that match was going to be good. Lauren points out that Chris was showing some heelish tendencies at the end of this match. The main event is currently happening now. Let's see here. Michael says everyone is booking AEW women better than TK. I do know that Willow was putting on, I don't know if this was the main event, but I do know that Willow and was putting the TBS title on the line against Nina Samuels. If she is still champion on Wednesday, she is wrestling Persephone. So Persephone just beat Mercedes for the CMLL championship, which is the correct choice. And I knew as soon as she beat her the last time, I was like, Persephone is going to be the one to take it off of her, and it's going to be amazing. And I've heard nothing but good stuff about that match. I heard Oh, that's good to know. That the night of the Amazonas was very entertaining, and it's only about 90 minutes. Oh, great. Because I heard Mina's match was really, I saw that Mina won. I heard Megan's match was really good. I saw that Megan got thrown into the crowd by Olympia, and Olympia is great. The little bit I've seen of her, she's fantastic too. And then, of course, I've heard Persephone versus Mercedes was incredible too. This is definitely going to play into, Mercedes dropping all of her titles before she comes back. But as Tony meant to mention, I forgot about this when we were talking about Tony Storm's promo with Marina. She randomly threw in there, I want my women's world title back. And then she goes back to, but it's going to just be you and me, Marina. And I was like, why did she throw that in with that promo? It seemed a little out of place. she threw that in there too. So maybe that was a shot at Tekla because Tekla was backstage somewhere. So maybe that's why. But yeah, so I hope we get it together with the way we book especially in other countries when other countries are doing better. Crash says Mina's match was great. Stephanie's mom chucked a mug of beer over at Monet.
Nice.
Fantastic.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah, this show sounds great. If it's only 90 minutes, then I might get to that.
Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds like a good
Wrestle Queendom as well, because I know they've been building. Did they end up selling out Wrestle Queendom? I know that was the big thing that because obviously Ospreay is involved in Pro Wrestling Eve, and that was like one of the big things they were trying to do was to sell out today's show. And I don't remember if I heard if they did sell it out. I hope so, because we need to show more people that women are a draw, that women can sell out shows, and women can main event your pay-per-views, Anthony Khan. And then you can have women's matches. All women's shows. Yeah.
I don't know, man. Getting a little crazy over
there.
Michael
says he thinks that means that Tony is getting away from Marina. It's been 5 months. I've enjoyed their feud. I think it's a good way to build Marina up because Marina needs that, and Tony is the former champion, and Tony is a great. In the match even though Tony beat Zeta still in like 3.5 minutes, she let Zeta, I think she said her TV match that she had on Collision a few weeks ago was her first time on television, on that or something like that. She's wrestled in NXT, but didn't wrestle on. I think she said didn't, or something like that. I think is what she said, and she was like, "Give me a break." And so Tony did let her get some stuff in.
Mm-hmm.
It was nice to see that So Tony is definitely a very selfless performer, obviously, and so I'm glad. I've enjoyed the Marina feud. I thought it has been. I think it's made Marina look really good. I think Marina has gotten more comfortable in her character now, instead of some of the stuff that they were trying to do with her a while back. Crash says also a 3-way was a great way. At the start was great for the great at Amazonas, building to get this a hair versus hair 3-way. CMLL all in on the hair match.
They probably do a better job at since, like I said last week, they're the ones that do it professionally, so they would. Well,
Johnny, that's how Johnny TV lost his hair.
There you go. See,
like not last weekend he lost it.
Gotta watch out.
Great, and he still looks great with no hair.
There you go.
Yeah. Michael said they really like Zeta. It's good to see her getting more opportunities. Yeah, I appreciate that with them, and I think putting her with Christopher Daniels is really smart, especially because, like she said, back in the day, she used to hate Christopher Daniels because he was really good at his job. So it's great that and even with somebody like Scorpio Sky, who I think is really talented, and even Top Flight. I think Top Flight has benefited a lot being with Christopher Daniels and being with Scorpio Sky. I think they have really had some great matches when they've been on TV the last few times. So I think it's really smart to put Zeta in a group like that, and I like her with them, and they seem to be really utilizing her and showing her the ropes and helping her get used to being on TV and getting better at her job, which is really a cool thing, which is what they should be doing, which is a good thing to see. Let's see. I think unless there's anything else that I am forgetting, we have covered so much stuff today. But I know we've covered everything in our notes. I don't remember. I don't think there's anything else.
I don't think so, but you never know. I'm sure there'll be something the minute we get off here, but that's
sorry.
okay.
But next week we will be here to get you hyped for Revolution, the show that is very near and dear to Power Bombshells. That is, as it was our first big pay-per-view that we covered as Power Bombshells, so it's very near and dear to us. This card is shaping up to be really good. Way back in the beginning, Big Boom AJ getting a match at Revolution.
Of course.
Won't be surprised if QT Marshall.
Oh my God. We should invite Keila. If he gets in there, we're inviting Keila just so you guys can go after it.
She's the one. So funny. She sent me the article from F4W and was like, look who has made it onto the card. And I was like, and I had seen it, but I didn't get a chance to look at it. Like I had seen like a video, but I didn't get a chance to look at it. And she messaged me like right after. And I was like, I assume his opponent's going to be QT, or QT is going to be involved somehow, because that man's got to get his quarterly pay-per-view spot in. So I assume they have not said yet how Big Boom AJ is going to be involved. I don't believe we have any 0-hour matches announced yet.
I feel like there was the gauntlet or the
is that 0 hour?
The casino thing is on the 0 hour.
Oh, is it? Is it the entire?
Yeah, it said 0 hour in the graphic, if I remember.
I wonder if it's the entire hour.
Maybe it is. They're doing like a mini Royal Rumble. It's going to be a Rambo. It's just like the whole beginning.
Right, exactly. And speaking of, I meant to talk about it before when we were talking. There was a really great. They brought back the money match last night, but thankfully put in some new teams. It's
nice to see the Outrunners again.
The Outrunners got put back on TV, probably because maybe Tony heard me saying that Danhausen could have fit on ROH when you have the Outrunners and Dalton Castle. So Nikki was like, "Oh, that's why they put Dalton Castle on commentary, is because Danhausen's in WWE." But whatever gets Dalton
graphic
Castle,
too.
Whatever gets Dalton Castle on my TV.
He got a graphic. I saw a graphic this morning.
There was a graphic.
That was like the one thing I did see on my wrestling feed this morning before I jumped on here.
So that match includes. So LFI returned because Rush had a procedure. Dralisico had surgery. I think he was having some issues with his hearing. So they returned to TV last night. Private Party was on. The Swirl was in that match. Seems like we're building to a feud with the Swirl and Private Party, which looks like it'll be a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that match last night. And this morning, Blake Christian got the All Elite graphic.
That's it, Blake Christian. That's
and he was like, I thought he was already signed. He's been on an ROH deal for
He's been ROH, yeah, I knew that.
Like as soon as I think almost fairly soon after WWE released him, and he was doing stuff in GCW. I feel like it's been at least I want to say like a year and a half, maybe even longer, that he's been on the ROH deal. So now he is fully on AEW. And somebody was like, well, when is Lee getting one? But Lee has been signed to AEW for several years now. He's not getting a graphic because he's already All Elite. He's been All Elite for a while. They just didn't know what to do with him, and then finally sent him to ROH. And I believe if I'm not mistaken, I think Lee was injured for a bit of time, I want to say. And that was another reason he disappeared, but then he's been in ROH. Yes, Dalton Castle is a treasure.
Very much so.
Don't touch the money, says Tony Schiavone, and Dalton says, why? Is it dirty? Let me tell you, Nikki said it last night too. Dalton Castle is just as distracting as Jon Moxley on commentary.
Yeah.
And when I love them, but when I'm trying to cover Collision, it is very hard not to get distracted and because Jon Moxley always makes me have to rewind things because I can't hear him. I mean, because I'm laughing at something he has said. And I love that they're doing an up close with Renee and John. And they show the little clip of it. And like that, again, I know I talk about that up close with Death Riders all the time because it was such a good interview and it gave a lot of insight on them. And so I'm really looking forward. And I love they have her coming out and doing spots before John Moxley's matches when she's coming out and talking, and like she asked Marina, like, why do you slap him? And she's like, there's no pain, it's joy. And then Renee's like, John Moxley would wrestle 365 days in a row if he could. And I was like, this is not brand new information. We all are aware that John Moxley, this is why we love him. And once again, Dean Ambrose is dead. So, yeah, that was great. We need more succulents.
Yes, that was pretty funny, the succulents conversation. I
Yes,
did get
and
a
I
kick
was
out of
like,
that.
Dalton went on a rant about cacti, which is perfect because I love
right?
cacti and
That's what I
succulents.
was
So I was like,
thinking.
those conversations for me. And then I saw like the other day, we've only tuned in like once, but it was Dalton's birthday. And he was like, well, the best way you can celebrate with me is to come paint with me on my Twitch, because he does Bob Ross paintings on his
Awesome.
time. And so Nikki and I have watched like one of them like a year or so ago, and it was really entertaining. And he was painting with David Arquette, because they're really good friends. And then of course RJ City is really good friends with David Arquette as well. RJ was not on that episode, but like it was really entertaining. So I was like, I love that guy. I'm a huge fan of Don Castle, so please put him on my TV. But yeah, so shout out to Blake Christian for finally getting the All Elite graphic, because I think this world has really come together as a team, and I thought they looked really good last night. I enjoyed them. I enjoyed the stuff with Private Party. It looks like they have something for Private Party to do now. Now we have a legitimate feud, it looks like, with them. So yay, at least other things are happening in the tag team division. Even if FTR are the champions, we at least have other tag teams doing their own thing. Yes, so do make sure that you follow us on here on social media as well. I did post some pictures of the Powerbombshells Instagram last week, and I need to post them to Blue Sky. Even though Twitter apparently now has a feature where each picture you post, you can now tell Grok not to, I guess, AIify
use it,
but I
don't know if I trust that guy.
To avoid at least pictures with our faces on them, other than our slate. That's,
yeah.
But individual pictures, I was like, I'm not going to post that on Twitter. It's going to just live on Instagram.
Yeah.
Maybe I will go ahead and post it. I did put on Blue Sky for you to follow us on Instagram at Powerbombshells. But yeah, if we're posting pictures, it's most likely not going to be on Twitter because I don't want to really put pictures on there anymore.
All the reasons.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, we are coming back for the pre-show next week, and we will give our predictions. I'm still going to tell you that FTR is losing. I don't care what happens on Wednesday or Saturday, because it is a Sunday pay-per-view, as Mel reminded me last week. Football season is over, so AEW pay-per-view seasons on Saturday is over. We're back on Sundays now until football season starts. So we will be here Sunday at our regular time to get you hype for the pre-show. And then the following Sunday, we will talk about the Fallout an hour earlier. We will be here at noon on the 22nd to come talk to you about everything that happens. And we'll remind you of that again next week. And perhaps Keela will be here if we get a QT Marshall match.
Definitely. She's going to want to come on. All right. Everybody have a good week. Thanks everyone for being here. All right.